Hi everyone, we hope you're doing well. We're hanging in there though honestly, we haven't been getting much sleep lately. Today, we want to answer a question we get a lot: how do we publish our audiobooks? First, we post most audiobooks on Patreon as paid content. They stay paid for a few months. After that, they become free to listen to on Patreon forever. A few weeks later, we post them on other places like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X. Lately, things have been a bit slow in terms of new members. So we'd love your help. Please share our site with your friends or in places like Facebook groups, Twitter, X, Discord, Reddit, or novel forums. Even one share can really help us grow. Thanks so much for your support, which had been fixed on Ryota, stopped spinning for a moment, almost as if time itself had paused to mourn the loss. Then, slowly, they began to spin again, but this time, in the opposite direction. The motion gained speed, and the three Tomoe within his Sharingan started to morph. The once familiar pattern shifted, the Tomoe merging and twisting into something entirely new. Within seconds, a menacing new shape emerged. His Mangekyō Sharingan had awakened, and it bore a unique, haunting design. 5 curved, flame-like blades spiraled outward from the central red pupil, each sharp and perfectly spaced, giving it an almost hypnotic yet terrifying aura. The deep crimson hue of the Sharingan seemed to burn brighter, highlighting the black spiraling pattern that exuded overwhelming power and despair. His body trembled as a storm of emotion surged within him. The chakra inside him began to flow rapidly throughout his body, his once bright chakra now turning a little dark, and with each flow it was increasing in amount almost impossible normally. His physique, which was a notch better than other Uchiha, was getting used to the power-up from the Mangekyō Sharingan like never before. In a few seconds, his eyes, which had been wide open seeing his friend, turned from 3 Tomoe Sharingan to Mangekyō Sharingan. His chakra, which was already among the rank of Hokage level ninja, effectively doubled in size, though he didn't pay any attention to that, because inside him anger and sorrow were fighting to take hold of him, each winning and losing at the same time. Sadly, even though he didn't pay attention to his changes, 2 ninja did. What was that? Arata asked. Must be his friend. Look like our work is not over yet. Well, it is fine anyway, let's quickly finish him before going back, we only have 10 more minutes. Fumio said, now already over about the fact that he had to kill someone with the same age as his son. Both of them went toward the voice they heard when they suddenly stopped, raising their guard to maximum. Due to his inner turmoil, they didn't pay any attention to hiding his chakra. Did Hidden Leaf Village send someone so fast? Arata said, as beads of sweat formed on the back of his neck. No, it is not possible. Maybe he was already here and was notified about the attack. Fumio said, facing a similar situation, but his experience forced him to not lose his cool. But all of the Hidden Leaf Village top ninja are located somewhere else. How can someone be here? Arata said, being about the few experienced ninjas, they have a little more information about the mission. I don't think he is someone from the top, they will not make such a rookie mistake to show their chakra like this. Let's go and check out. Fumio said, analyzing the situation with a clear mind, but he made a very, very wrong choice, he chose the wrong direction to go. Chapter 357, Cold Anger. Kda, kneeling on the ground, struggled to comprehend why everything had unfolded as it did. His mind was a storm of questions, but suddenly, he heard, or saw, 2 figures moving in his direction. The faint ripples in the air around him betrayed their presence, a disturbance so subtle it would have been imperceptible to any other Uchiha. But Kda's eyes could see it. The Sharingan had countless benefits, too many to name, but it came with a significant curse, the ability to perceive everything in excruciating detail and recall it with perfect clarity, as though it were happening all over again. When Kda's involuntary gaze shifted to the approaching figures, a vivid memory surged forward, unbidden and unrelenting. It wasn't just the lifeless body of his friend that he had seen upon arriving, it was something far more damning. Standing beside Ryota's fallen form had been another person. A kunai rested in their hand, the blade still slick with blood, not dried, but fresh and warm. A single crimson droplet had clung to the tip, trembling before falling. It struck the scorching desert ground near Ryota's neck and evaporated instantly in the blistering heat. Kda relived that moment as though it were unfolding anew. The sight of the one responsible for his friend's death now standing before him was the final blow to the fragile balance within him. The storm of his emotions, teetering between an empty void and seething rage, found a victor. But the rage that surfaced wasn't the explosive, fiery kind familiar to most. Kda's anger was cold. Cold and calm, the worst kind of anger possible. The 2 Hidden Clouds Village Jonin moved cautiously toward the sound, their every step deliberate. They had already sent a message requesting reinforcements, because amateur or not, anyone with chakra reserves of this magnitude was a threat to be taken seriously. Their strides were slow, careful. The tension in the air thickened with every step they took toward the sound. Their instincts suddenly went into full alert mode when they saw who was the source of that sound and chakra. A boy, not much older than 12 to 13 by looks, was kneeling on the ground, his face still obstructed by darkness since he was facing away from the moon, but his eyes were tearing through the darkness that was engulfing his face. The eyes they had just heard about in myths and stories, horror stories of old ninjas. Uchiha themselves were a force any ninja village was cautioned of, or to be blunt, afraid of. It was the norm to never fight an Uchiha alone, even one a level below you. If you had to, just run, because otherwise your death was almost confirmed. And this was the case with normal Uchihas. When it came to Uchihas with 3 Tomoe Sharingan, they were already in the realm where 3 ninja might be required for a single Uchiha. But there was information available that even 3 Tomoe Sharingan was not the final form of Sharingan. There was one more even powerful form, where it gained a pattern so beautiful that you couldn't look away from it. In such cases, the ninja was already at a rank where ordinary ninja, no matter Jonin or Elite Jonin, didn't stand a chance against them and would need an S-rank ninja to go against them. It was speculation that Shisui Uchiha had those eyes, but nothing was certain. Shisui Uchiha? Arata said, a feeling of dread washing over him, because if it was, then he was dead even before the reinforcement squad could form, let alone move. But to his relief, Fumio shook his head. Shisui was seen at the other border of Fire Country. Even though he is fast, there is no way he can reach here so soon, and look closely, this boy is much younger than Shisui. When that point was made, both of their minds went to 2 young Uchiha who already had 3 Tomoe Sharingan and were the reason this whole operation had started. Since one of them was the child of the Uchiha clan head, there was no way he would be here. That only left one option. Uchiha, they both thought at the same time. For a moment, even greed could be seen on their faces. Kda, who was a source of disgrace for many of the main 4 hidden villages, had quite a bounty on him in the black market, while also having great value in Hidden Cloud's village. If they somehow brought back his head, they both would surely be promoted to Elite Jonin rank, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. An opportunity for which they decided to ignore their instincts, which were shouting at them to run from that place without looking back. But they steeled their resolve and made their way toward Kda. Suddenly, both of them stopped and their eyes went black. Inside their minds, they were screaming like crazy because they were being burned by flames much hotter than any jutsu they had ever faced. It was so hot that they should have been burned to crisp in seconds, but there was a green light accompanying the fire as well, whose role was to heal them. For them, a cycle of burning and healing started inside their minds, as the sound of slow footsteps on the sand echoed in the desert. Kda, who had now regained his clarity, looked toward the 2 enemy Jonin coming toward him. He could clearly see their fear, their relief, and their greed in their eyes in a single minute, but for him, they didn't matter in the moment as much as his friend did. He just wanted them to suffer until he was done with his farewell to his friend. That's it, he just wanted them to suffer. As though his eyes had sensed his emotions and thoughts, they automatically moved and molded Kda's chakra. Since those 2 were looking toward Kda already, they suddenly fell under a Ganjutsu not even a tad bit weaker than any B-rank Ganjutsu, a Ganjutsu they didn't have any chance to break out of on their own. Kda just glanced at them after that, his thoughts back to clarity but still emotionless. Ignoring the 2 ninjas standing in front of him, he simply made his way toward his friend. I am sorry for not coming here on time, brother. And I am sorry for asking you to do something so unreasonable. Kda said, sitting next to Ryota, looking toward the sky. I know I couldn't change back time, so there is no way to bring you back, but I will do whatever I can to make sure your soul will not be troubled in the future. Your parents are now my parents, I will take care of them from now on. And trust me, not a single person involved in your death will ever find peace now. They will live their lives in constant dread from now on, lives which are on countdown now. Kda said, finally looking toward Ryota, gently caressing his face while closing his eyes. He then stored Ryota's body in a seal, after which he moved toward Kiba. You were brave and loyal till the end too, Kiba, just like the good boy you were. I hope you 2 reunite in the Pure Lands. Kda said, gently caressing Kiba's head as well while closing his eyes. He then stored his body as well. After being done with the most important task at hand, he looked toward the 2 who were responsible for his friend's death. He once again simply made his way toward them. When he was in front of them, a shadow clone appeared next to him, which without wasting a second transformed into a jagged blade. Kda took it in his hand, looking toward the limbs of the 2 ninja in front of him. In one strike, 4 palms fell to the ground, cut clean from the wrists holding them before, and before they could come out of the Ganjutsu they were in, another strike passed and their ankles were cleanly cut as well. Their cries, which were in their minds until now, were now roaming through the full desert, but the person in front of them was standing motionless, without a shred of emotion visible on his face. Chapter 358, Beatty once again simply made his way toward them. When he was in front of them, a shadow clone appeared next to him, which without wasting a second transformed into a jagged blade. It took in his hand, looking towards limbs of two ninja in front of him. In one strike 4 palm fell on the ground, cut clear from the wrist holding them before, and before they could have come out of the ganjutsu they were in, another strike passed and their ankles were cleanly cut as well. They cries which were in their mind till now, was now roaming in full desert, but the person in front of them were standing motionless, without a shred of emotion visible on his face. The blade in his hand was now rotating enchantingly, looking so beautiful that a person wouldn't be able to help but take a second glance, but the only people present there were writhing on the ground because of the pain they were experiencing. So Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village want to teach Hidden Leaf Village a lesson, huh? And you thought killing my friends would be the best way to do it? Da said, his blade moving seamlessly as one of the two screams sounding in the desert stopped. In the memories of the two, Da found out how Fumio was just following orders and how he tried to kill Ryota without pain and even ended his suffering. Da decided to repay the favor. Before dying, a voice rang in Fumio's mind, "Don't worry, I will not kill your child if I come across him. This is my repayment for your act of last mercy toward my brother." Even though it was diabolical, if Fumio had not killed Ryota for just a few more seconds, Da could have saved him, but Fumio didn't know that. For him, there were only two options. One was to see the boy die slowly and painfully, the other a painless death, and he chose the second one. Da understood that. Hearing that last sentence, Fumio released a sigh of relief, his thoughts transforming from "my village is going to face a monster" to "at least my son will survive," as at the end of the day, the loyalty for the village is always, almost always, less than the love for family. So in his last moment, Fumio was not in desperation anymore. A fraction of seconds peace returned to his face in the midst of pain he was experiencing from the burns and cuts on his hands and legs, before his head was cleanly sliced off from his shoulders. With the last person still screaming because of the pain, Da left him like that as he sat on the ground, his eyes focused ahead. "What do you mean there is a signal for reinforcement? We have already spent 20 minutes, we only have 10 more minutes remaining, and from the report, they went against some Chunins, right? Why the hell would a team of 5 special Jonin and 2 Chunin need reinforcement for 3 Chunin?" One of the Jonin responsible for leading the mission shouted in front, his tone laced with anger. This was an important mission for him, and he had already lost a special Jonin because of some shadow clone. If that wasn't enough, some of the ninja who should be here by now after eliminating some Chunins were requesting reinforcement. "What happened? Kitsuchi-sama, why are you here?" the Jonin asked, though his words and tone didn't match as his tone wasn't carrying the same amount of respect. Kitsuchi, even though he was an elite Jonin level ninja, didn't mind that. Expecting respect from a ninja of another village was not something someone as experienced as him was going to do. "Answer me about that." The Jonin told everything to Kitsuchi, because respect or not, Kitsuchi was still the commander of their army for this mission. Not following the leader's orders in such cases was enough reason for his death. "Something is not right," Kitsuchi said. "Should we go and check it out?" Deodare's expectant voice came from behind. "No, one of the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya himself, is coming toward us. If we make a move now, there is a very high chance he will be able to identify us. If he makes us his target, it will be us who will be facing losses here rather than Hidden Leaf Village. So no, we are going to retreat now," Kitsuchi said, as the Jonin finally saw that not only Kitsuchi but all 4 top fighting forces of the army were here. Yarui and C nodded their heads at Kitsuchi's orders, while Deodara just huffed. "Why the hell did you even bring me here? A chance to grow my art wasted," Deodara said as he went back. Kitsuchi could only shake his head at the youngster's antics. He turned to the Jonin. "Send a team of 2 Jonin, 3 special Jonin, and 5 Chunin for the reinforcement. One of them should be a censor. Ask them to remain vigilant at all times, and if they find something they have no confidence in handling in a minute or 2, they have to retreat. We will leave in 7 minutes." "Yes, sir," the Jonin said and created a team. The team ran at full speed toward the direction the reinforcement request had arrived. Their sensor had been constantly monitoring the surroundings for any ambushes, but before he could be of any use to the team, the location of the ninja who had asked for reinforcement became clear to the whole team in the form of screams filled with pain, a lot of it. "What was that?" "It's Fumio-sensei's voice. He was my sensei. Let's hurry, whoever is behind this is not far away," one of the Hidden Clouds Village Chunin said. "No, wait for him to check the surroundings first," the Jonin leader said, pointing toward the sensor. The sensor ninja nodded his head and increased his chakra field in that direction. But he was still not able to sense the location. "The next kilometer is safe," but they are present out of my range. We have to move forward for me to get any clear readings. The sensor ninja replied. Let's move, keep your chakra, the Jonin leader was saying when suddenly one of the two screams sounding in the desert went silent. Fumio-sensei. The Chunin said, his voice filled with pain and accusation. Keep your emotions in check, otherwise you'll lose your life before you know it. The Jonin leader said. Even he was sad about the loss, but the orders were clear, maintain constant vigilance at all times. So they swiftly but alertly made their way toward the last sound coming to them. Just when they were 800 meters away from the location of the incident, the sensor stopped. What is it? The Jonin leader asked. He knew the news wasn't good from the sensor's face. Sir, I can sense 2 chakra signatures. One of them belongs to Arata, a special Jonin from Hidden Clouds village, but the second one is foreign and it's massive. Really massive. Every sensor ninja in the team was asked to memorize the chakra signatures of their allies as a prevention against transformation jutsu, so the sensor knew Arata's chakra, but the second chakra was the cause of his worry. How large? All of us here combined don't have even half, not even 1/3 of his chakra. The sensor said. We are going to retreat. There is no use in fighting here. The Jonin said. Even though leaving an ally in such a state was heart-wrenching for most of them, they knew the orders must be followed. Also, they knew he was most likely bait to lure them in, so the most logical thing in this scenario was to go back and regroup. Just when they were about to turn, the sensor ninja went stiff. Everyone, prepare yourself, he is here. A cold voice completed the sensor's sentence, at which all 10 of the ninja drew out their weapons, all pointed toward the voice. How heartless of you, leaving your friend behind in such a state. A young boy said. Even though everyone was astonished how such a young boy was giving off this much oppressive feeling, that astonishment was diminished because of the eyes of the boy, the eyes which were glowing in the dark, with a beautiful pattern inside them. Normally they would have been in a Ganjutsu by now, but they didn't want that because there was no need. He wanted them to feel the same thing Ryota felt in his last moments, hopelessness. Before the Jonin leader of the team could decide anything, the boy in front of them placed his hand in front of his right eye and said, Takamagahara. Chapter 359, Domain. Before the Jonin leader of the team could decide anything, the boy in front of them placed his hand in front of his right eye and said, Takamagahara no Shai Hai. As soon as those words left his mouth, an area of 10-meter radius suddenly lost all of its color. Even though it was already night and there wasn't much color in the first place, for the ninja present there, the difference was stark. The sand, the rocks, clothes of their allies and even their own, and last but not least, the darkness, all of it had lost color. At that time, the experienced ninja from the group finally understood what they were facing, an Uchiha with a higher level of Sharingan than 3 Tomoe Sharingan. The Jonin leader wanted to shout, to give orders of retreat, to run, to go back, but then another thing became apparent to him, he couldn't move. And he wasn't the only one with such thoughts. By now, every one of them had tried to do anything, from trying to turn to their leader for orders to trying to form hand signs to attack the enemy, only to come to the realization that they couldn't do anything. The Jonin among them started to use his chakra to move forcefully, to break through this cursed state with force, but before he could even use enough chakra to empower his body, the boy appeared in front of him. The movement was so fast that it almost looked like teleportation, but he knew it was just pure speed if the trail behind was any indication. The Jonin leader knew his time had come. In the last seconds of his life, the only regret in his mind was coming here. He should have just gone back when there were cries sounding in the desert, it was an obvious trap. But being overconfident in their numbers, he had taken an unnecessary risk, a risk that was totally worthless and would now be the reason for his death. But still, he kept looking into the eyes of the boy, showing that he was not afraid of death at all. It's a good thing you are stubbornly looking in my eyes. I can read your memories easily now. The boy said. Hearing that, the Jonin cursed his stupidity and quickly tried to close his eyes, but suddenly the power which was stopping their movements somehow was now focused on him, making even closing his eyes impossible. The boy in front of him smirked, and then he felt chakra invading his brain, but there was nothing he could do now. Within seconds, the boy was finished and moved the blade in his hand in an upward arc, bisecting the Jonin leader into equal parts. You fucker. The second Jonin of the team shouted, the only other person who had a chance of moving in the field. Even though before moving even a little was impossible, when the power was focused on the leader, he tried his best and took out explosion tags from his pocket. Even though he couldn't throw them, there was no need for it, since he was sure he was going to die. There was only one intention left in his mind, take the enemy with him. When others saw the explosion tags in the Jonin's hand, they were afraid. They knew what it would mean if he ignited those now, since they couldn't use any jutsu nor move, they would be blown to smithereens. But that fear was soon overtaken by resolve. Seeing their leader dead, they knew they had no chance of surviving, but this way they would get their revenge with death along with removing a potential threat to the village. Seeing this, the other 3 special Jonin also did their best and took out their explosion tags as well. All of this happened in mere 15 seconds, a time so insignificant in the life of a person, but it was the time 9 ninja had made up their minds to die for their village. All 4 of them exchanged glances, affirming each other's actions before they ignited all of the explosion tags. Wow, you guys really want to kill me, huh? Well, you're just following orders, not like we're enemies, but let me make it clear. The boy said, and in the next second, wind blades formed around the explosion tags, bisecting them along with the hands of the ninja holding them. And they couldn't even scream because they couldn't move even a muscle in their body inside the domain they were in. But the pain they felt was nothing in comparison to the helplessness they were feeling. They were ready to die, ready to sacrifice their lives for their village, but the enemy in front of them was way too strong for them to have even a chance against him. They were now just lambs in front of a slaughterer, waiting to be slaughtered. They looked toward the 9 remaining ninja inside his domain. When their last attack failed, they lost all hope, waiting to die. Seeing them like this, and giving a cursory glance to their recent memories, they lost all will to torture them, as even though it was them who had killed people, it was just because they were following orders, all but one person who thoroughly enjoyed killing ninja, especially young ones, because they were more talented than him. He raised his sword once again and appeared behind the ninja. Behind him, 7 heads fell from their bodies. At that time, the domain had been active for more than 75 seconds. His eyes spun once again, and the domain faded as color returned to the world for the 2 remaining ninja. Well, only one of them could see the color as the second was already in a Ganjutsu, suffering through what one could consider hell. What do you want with me? The only remaining ninja, a Chunin who was Fumio's student, asked while still alive. You didn't kill any ninja, even when you had a chance. Why? De asked. There is no need for you to answer. De said, and in the next second his sword moved one more time. The Chunin tried to block the sword with his kunai, but it was slashed along with his arm, which was not only slashed but also burned, which stopped the blood from flowing out, though it was the last of his worries as he now felt why they were hearing such loud screams when they came here. But then something unusual happened. Kda's hand glowed green, and within seconds, the pain that the boy was feeling vanished. You will not be able to be a ninja anymore, but you will live. Go and find yourself something better to do. Kda said. The Chunin was dumbfounded at that, not knowing what he should do now. Oh. Also, please pass a message of mine to your superiors. Tell them to inform their Kages they have just made their worst enemy. And they could count their days on hand. Soon there will be only 3 great ninja villages remaining in this world, and this is a promise of Uchiha. His face was still expressionless when he said these words. Even though no emotion could be seen on his face, the Chunin felt an immense amount of anger hidden behind each of those words. Chapter 360, Chase. Even though Kda said those words in the calmest way possible, the Chunin felt an immense amount of anger hidden behind each of them. If someone had told him these words before seeing what he had just witnessed, he would have scoffed. A ninja threatening 2 hidden villages with eradication, villages backed by thousands of ninjas and Kages as strong as armies themselves. But now his confidence was not that high anymore. Still, he was relieved that he would not die today. Even though he had lost his hand and couldn't continue being a ninja anymore, his loyalty toward his village was not reduced even a tad bit. Since for a ninja village there is only one thing worse than an S-rank ninja as a threat, an S-rank ninja whose skills are unknown to you, he wanted to inform his village about whatever happened here, and for that he was grateful for the mercy he was provided with. Without hesitation, he ran back toward the outpost, while Kda and the second Chunin remained there. Kda looked toward him. By now he had already suffered enough, so he ended his life as well, along with Aradas, who had been constantly screaming until now. After everything was done, Kda used wind instantaneous movement jutsu several times and arrived 20 kilometers away from his previous location, after which he simply lost consciousness. All of his chakra reserves, which were now 10 to 15 times more than any elite jonin of Hidden Leaf Village, were empty within just 2 minutes. This was also one of the reasons Kda had not gone to the outpost directly and had waited here. In his current condition, it was impossible for him to handle the army of Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village combined alone. He was angry, very angry, but that anger was not volatile, the kind that burns intensely for a moment only to dissipate soon. No, Kda's anger was calm and collected. From the memories he had read, he knew that the enemy was low on time as well, so he went all out in dealing as much damage as he could while using the chance that they would not risk finding him. Though when he learned that Deodara was also on that team, he decided to take extra measures and retreat to a safe distance. Though chances were low, they weren't zero that Deodara would abandon all logic for some twisted form of art. Kitsushi was giving various orders to the army in front of him. Out of 115, 97 ninjas were present there, all of them ready to retreat and just waiting for the remaining ninjas to return. The mission was a big success according to them. Only 2 Jonin were able to escape, and that too after being injured. The rest of Hidden Leaf Village's forces, around 38 ninjas, were completely annihilated by the army. The outpost was also crushed. Aside from the loss of life, it was also a huge economic blow, as a single outpost's construction needed tens of millions of ryo. There was no doubt in his mind that everyone among the higher-ups would be satisfied with the result. While he was going through the report one last time, he felt a chakra signature approaching them at high speed. After sensing it, he knew whose chakra signature it was. He disappeared from his position and appeared near Ryuma. "Why are you alone?" Kitsuchi asked as soon as he appeared in front of Ryuma. Ryuma, who had just suffered something straight out of a nightmare, was already on edge when someone appeared in front of him suddenly. His brain didn't register anything at that moment, not even the question, as he took out a kunai with his remaining hand and attacked the person. Obviously, the attack was stopped easily by Kitsuchi, during which he discovered Ryuma's condition, and he was not having a good feeling about it. "Everyone else is dead." "Everyone?" Ryuma said as soon as he saw that he was safe and the person in front of him was an ally. Though his eyes were lifeless, he passed out in front of Kitsuchi after delivering the message. "Damn it!" Kitsuchi mumbled as he brought Ryuma along with him to the army. "What happened?" C asked, seeing Ryuma in that state. He was from Hidden Cloud's village, and seeing a ninja from their village in this condition was deeply concerning for him, especially since he knew where he had been sent. The team sent for reinforcement, along with the ninja before them, are dead. He is the only survivor. "I don't know the full story, but we can't take any more losses," Kitsuchi said. "I was saying from the start that we should go and find out what the whole situation was about," Deidara said. "A force which was able to do this to a team of 10 ninja in such little time, we couldn't have handled that in time either. It's a good thing that we didn't send any one of us, but now is not the time for discussing these things. Hidden Leaf Village has already sent reinforcements. We have to retreat now, otherwise our losses may increase further," Kitsuchi said. Even though C and Darui were not happy about the decision because it was Hidden Cloud's village who had lost 2 Jonin and many special Jonin, they couldn't do anything about it. What Kitsuchi said was true as well. If Hidden Leaf Village sent reinforcements on time along with any one of their S ranks, they would suffer many losses far surpassing the current ones. With heavy hearts, they decided to follow Kitsuchi's plan and retreat for now. The outpost at which De was posted was busy with work. Many ninja were moving here and there, scouting their surroundings. Their leader, Tomohiro Saratobi, was giving orders non-stop, analyzing the reports and waiting for Hidden Leaf Village to send a reply about whether he should increase the security of the area or send reinforcements for the outpost that was attacked. Suddenly, 4 ninja appeared at the outpost. 3 of the 4 fell to the ground from chakra exhaustion. The technique that Minato alone could use hundreds of times in a battlefield was used by those 3 ninja only 9 times, but they were already exhausted beyond measure. But they had completed their objective. "Jiraiya-sama, what are you doing here?" Tomohiro Saratobi, who was out on inspection, came near Jiraiya as soon as he appeared in the outpost. "I am here for Uchiha. He had been sent here recently as reinforcement around 4 days ago," Jiraiya said, not wasting any time. Hearing that, Tomohiro's face became a little awkward. "Just tell me all you know. I don't have time to waste." "Sir, Uchiha sent his shadow clones to the outpost 150 kilometers east of us, the one at the Hidden Sand Village border, just a few minutes before he came to my office saying that outpost was attacked and he was going to save his friend. I tried to stop him, but he didn't follow my order, and I couldn't send someone with him because he left too soon," Tomohiro said. Being the commander of the outpost, he knew Hyuga was and was also a little afraid to put him under any risk, but there was nothing that could be done now. Sigh. "The worst has happened, huh?" Jiraiya mumbled to himself and then turned to Tomohiro. "Don't worry about that. Increase the security to the max, and make the number of ninja in each scout team at least 8. We are really under attack." After which he left in the direction Hyuga had gone, just 5 minutes after Hyuga had left for the outpost. Chapter 361, Hanbyami was running toward the direction Hyuga had come from. Even though all of her being wanted nothing more than to go and help Hyuga, she knew that she would not be able to do anything in her chakra-depleted state other than becoming a liability in the fight, so she did the most logical thing and ran away. While she was running in the direction of the next outpost, she suddenly became alert. Someone appeared very near to her, which should have been impossible to do so. Even though she was just a Chunin, in the department of sensing she was not even a tad bit weaker than any Jonin, and even though she was low on chakra, she had maintained her field. For someone to appear behind her even with all this, it was certain that person was not someone she could go against. "Don't worry, I am from Hidden Leaf Village. Jiraiya said, sensing Yami going tense and reaching for her kunai. Jiraiya-sama? Yami asked, turning slowly. Yes, you are Da's friend, right? Did you meet him? He asked. Yes, Jiraiya-sama. He went in that direction to save our friend Ryota, who stayed behind to stop the enemies and let me run away. Don't worry, and keep going. You will reach the sea outpost soon. Ask them to send you back to Hidden Leaf Village. Tell them it is an order from me. Jiraiya said. Sir, please save my friends. Yami said as tears continued to flow from her eyes. Jiraiya nodded and then left in the direction Yami had indicated. He went for just 10 minutes before a scene of carnage appeared in front of him. Bloody bits spread all around while bodies of lifeless ninja lay around. Jiraiya just gave it a glance before moving on, following the tracks he was sure belonged to a dog. When he reached the next location, he saw 2 lifeless bodies laying in front of him, their limbs and heads sliced away from their bodies, and expressions of pain still visible on their faces. Jiraiya stopped this time. Even though he was still not in sage mode, that didn't mean he was oblivious to the nature energy around him. From the training he had undergone for sage mode, he was one of the best sensors in the world, and due to that, he could easily sense the chakra in the surroundings. He was sure it belonged to Kda, but there was something different about it, like it had become a little dark. Not paying any more attention to that, he decided to find Kda first, only to come to the third location where 9 bodies were waiting for him. This time, Jiraiya was very much stunned. All 9 ninja were still standing, with their heads separated from their bodies and lying on the ground. Even Minato, the fastest ninja in the world, couldn't do something like this, and there was no doubt in Jiraiya's mind that it was Kda who did this. With Ryota's tracks stopping at a place with lots of blood around, it was not hard for him to guess his fate. And that meant Kda must have seen his friend's death or his dead body, and it was not unheard of for an Uchiha to evolve his dojutsu in the face of huge emotional stimulus. Did he awaken Mangekyō Sharingan as well? Jiraiya thought, but he couldn't find Kda's traces after this fight. With time running low and having no other option, he made a series of hand signs and, poof, what's up, Jiraiya boy? Why did you summon me here? I was about to have dinner cooked by Ma, you know. Fukasaku asked, appearing on the desert ground all of a sudden. We don't have time for this, Pa. This is an emergency. Kda is missing. Find him and bring him to Mount Mayabaku even if you have to use force. I will handle some other business in the meantime. Jiraiya said, pointing toward the dead bodies. Seeing the seriousness of the situation, Fukasaku just nodded and focused on Kda's chakra, and within a second, he found Kda's location. It has to be noted that in the Pain arc, Pain was among the strongest people in the world and was actively trying to hide his location with the help of Konan, another S-rank ninja. Still, Naruto was able to find his location in Sage mode. Now compared to him, Pa had multiple times more experience in Sage Jutsu. For him, finding someone whose chakra signature he already knew was not difficult at all. After finding him, he swiftly went in his direction while Jiraiya now made his way toward the outpost. Huh, they really want to start a war, huh? Jiraiya mused out loud because there was no one present there to listen to his rambling, almost no one. Jiraiya swiftly made hand signs and went inside the ground. Earth style, hiding like a moljutsu, and then came up with an unconscious Nara in his hand. Splash, where am I? Shinji woke up in shock from a splash of water on his face. On the ruins of the outpost you were once commander of. Jiraiya said, still searching the surroundings. Jiraiya-sama, thank you for saving me. Shinji said. No problem. I guess you are the only one here who is alive? Jiraiya asked. I ordered everyone to retreat. If we are lucky, some of our Jonin may have survived, but I will not keep my hopes high about that. Those fuckers had us surrounded. Shinji said. I don't need a report. Here, there are these 5 trails going from this outpost, an obvious attempt to stop any pursuers. Can you guess which one they took? Jiraiya asked, since he was the only one here and couldn't check all 5 paths alone. None. Aside from these, there must be some hidden trail, I guess. But Jiraiya just shook his head. If not, then that means all of these routes are correct and they will join at the end. If we took any one of them, the forces there act as decoy to let the main force run away, a classic tactic of the Third Ninja War. Sadly, there is no way to counter it if we don't have sufficient numbers. Shinji analyzed in a heartbeat, showing why Nara Ninja were considered the best strategists. So that means they have divided their force in 5 parts, right? Jiraiya asked. Most likely. Then let's give some of them a chance to sacrifice themselves for their village. Jiraiya said and was about to make his way toward one of the paths when Shinji said, the most you will be doing is killing a few, at most 4 to 5 ninjas, because if my guess is correct, they will divide once again. So there is not much benefit in doing all this, Lord Jiraiya. unless you are planning on following each trail. Well, that will not be possible, I guess. Jiraiya said. Yes, they will try to create as much distance between them as possible, so please don't take it to heart if you couldn't find many. Shinji said. Fine, but since I am here, there is no way I'm not going to give them a return gift, so take some rest and then go to the outpost in the east. They will handle the rest. Jiraiya said and went toward the trail in the center. Chapter 362, Grief. Jiraiya moved with practiced stealth along the central path, his eyes following trails which should be invisible to normal ninjas. Normally, a ninja is trained to hide their traces like everything else, but not all are masters of this technique. With hundreds of ninja running away in different directions, the work was not flawless, and being in an unfavorable location didn't help in this case either, leaving many traces for Jiraiya to find. Out of all he could see, this route had seen the heaviest traffic. More importantly, the residual chakra signatures, though fading, were strongest here. The enemy had tried to be clever with their five-way split, but they couldn't hide everything. As he reached the first divergence point from his current path, Jiraiya paused, his fingers brushing against the sand. This time the ninja had actively tried to hide their chakra, meaning tracking them through chakra would be difficult. Luckily, they were not fast enough and had just passed this area a few minutes before. The northwest path, he decided, noting how the sand was a little more compressed in this path than others, suggesting recent passage of multiple bodies. The other paths showed signs of travel too, but this one had the marks of the larger group. Jiraiya patiently followed the path in front of him, finding traces every now and then. They had moved in a zigzag pattern with enough randomness to evade many pursuers, many, but not a Kage level 1. His patience was rewarded about 10 minutes later when he caught sight of movement ahead. 6 figures moved through the desert in tight formation, their chakra signatures matching those of the attackers. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed as he assessed them from afar, 5 Chunin level signatures and 1 special Jonin, likely the unit leader. Not even a Jonin among them, Jiraiya thought, slightly disappointed. His hands moved through a series of seals with practiced efficiency. Earth-style, swamp of the underworld. He whispered, his chakra flowing into the ground beneath the fleeing ninja. The effect was immediate and devastating. The already sandy and flaky desert floor beneath the enemy ninja suddenly transformed into a deep, chakra-infused swamp. Their momentum carried them straight into the trap before they could react. The Chunin, caught completely off guard, plunged into the deadly morass with barely a sound. The special Jonin showed why he held his rank, managing to leap upward at the last second, chakra flaring as he attempted to escape. But Jiraiya was already there, appearing behind him with the speed that had earned him his legendary status. Too slow. Jiraiya said quietly, striking a precise point on the man's neck. The special Jonin's eyes widened in surprise before rolling back as unconsciousness took him. Normally he would have committed suicide if he was given a chance and knowledge that he would be facing Jiraiya. It was better than getting captured and interrogated in Hidden Leaf Village, but Jiraiya didn't give him any chance to do that. He caught his limp form before it could fall into the swamp below, from which many earth spears were now coming out, piercing the bodies of Chunin in it. Working quickly, Jiraiya bound the unconscious ninja with specialized seals, chakra-suppressing and paralysis-inducing markings that would prevent any attempt at escape or suicide. He hoisted the prisoner over his shoulder and surveyed the area, considering his options. The remaining trails would lead to more scattered groups, but the time investment wouldn't be worth the potential results. 2 or 3 more kills aren't worth the delay, he decided. Even though Jiraiya said that, he still made sure to look around the place to ensure they were not heading toward any other outpost. After confirming that they were really running away and eliminating one more team, he decided to return. By now both Yami and Shinji had reached Tomohiro's outpost and were getting treated. Well, both of them were mostly fine, just too exhausted. While they were resting, Jiraiya reached the outpost. Jiraiya-sama, did you find Da and Ryota? Where are they? Yami, who was moving here and there waiting for Jiraiya to return or even get news about her friends, erupted with questions as soon as she saw Jiraiya coming to the outpost. Da is safe. He is resting somewhere, and I will bring him to your house later. As for Ryota, I am sorry. I didn't find him, but I will not increase your hope. With the amount of blood I have seen at his last position, he is most likely dead. Jiraiya replied. Yami felt her world crashing down. The only friend she was able to make other than Da had died protecting her, and what did she do? She ran away. No matter how logical that decision was, it didn't make the feeling of dread and pain inside her heart any less. Jiraiya gave her some time to come to terms with the situation before they started their journey back to Hidden Leaf Village. With the help of a carriage and 3 Jonin capable of teleporting them, they were able to reach Hidden Leaf Village in an hour. It was still late night time, but the higher-ups of Hidden Leaf Village were wide awake waiting for any further news. Shinji's face bore the grim expression of a commander who had lost men under his command, while Yami's eyes remained red-rimmed from crying, though she now maintained her composure with admirable strength. They proceeded directly to the Hokage's office, where Jiraiya handed over his unconscious prisoner to the Anbu guards. His report was brief but comprehensive: the attack, the casualties, the enemy's retreat tactics, and his pursuit. "This is all I know about the attack. For now, I need to go somewhere," he said finally, his hands already forming the signs for the reverse summoning jutsu. "Where are you going?" Hiruzen asked. "There are matters at Mount Myabaku that require my attention." With a puff of smoke, he vanished, leaving Yami and Shinji to provide their detailed reports to Hiruzen. The debriefing seemed to last forever to Yami. Each word felt like it was being pulled from her throat, each detail of the attack and their escape another reminder of what she had lost. Hiruzen listened with his characteristic patience, his pipe remaining unlit out of respect for the gravity of the situation. By the time they were dismissed, the moon was still high in the night sky. Yami's feet felt leaden as she made her way through the empty streets toward the Uchiha compound. The normally bustling village was quiet at this hour, leaving her alone with her thoughts that inevitably turned to Ryota's final moments. When she reached her home's door, her hand trembled as she knocked. The sound seemed too loud in the night's silence. He, who was sleeping, was first to wake up from the sound. She came out to check who was at this hour. She opened the door only to find Yami standing in front of her. One look at Yami's face had her fully alert, maternal concern flooding her features. "Yami? What's wrong?" What happened? The question broke something in Yami. She collapsed forward into his arms, her carefully maintained composure shattering completely. Sobs racked her body as she clung to the woman who had become like a mother to her. He held her tightly, guiding her inside and closing the door behind them. They ended up sitting on the floor, he stroking Yami's hair as the young Kunoichi's tears soaked her nightgown. She didn't push for answers, didn't try to stem the flow of grief. She simply held on, providing the anchor Yami so desperately needed. "Ryota." Yami finally managed to choke out between sobs. "He's gone. He stayed behind so I could escape. He fought them alone, and now he's..." Her voice cracked, fresh tears flowing. Even though he didn't know what had happened and why her daughter was in this state, from the tad bit Yami was saying while crying, she could guess that she had lost her friend. He pulled her closer, her own eyes filling with tears. She had watched these children's friendship with her own eyes. She remembered Ryota's boisterous laugh, his loyal nature, the way he had always been with Kda and Yami, and even the respectful tone he used to change whenever he saw her. Now he was gone. "Let it out," she whispered, rocking Yami gently. "Just let it all out, sweetheart. I'm here." Through the window, moonlight cast long shadows across the floor as Yami's grief echoed through the quiet house. Her sobs gradually softened to hiccups, then to quiet tears, but he never loosened her embrace. Chapter 363, Awakening of Power. When Jiraiya materialized on Mount Myabaku, the familiar scent of moss and ancient stone filled his nostrils. The mountain was shrouded in its perpetual mist. Fukasaku was waiting for him, the elderly toad's expression more serious than usual. "Jiraiya boy, what took you so long?" "I have been waiting for you for so long. Hidden Leaf Village was attacked, Fukasaku-san. I had to handle some stuff before I could come here," Jiraiya explained. "Fine, but your student is not in good shape as well." "What's wrong with Kda?" Jiraiya asked, immediately noting the concern in his master's voice. They walked along the stone path, passing by the massive statues of legendary toads. "The boy is evolving," Fukasaku said carefully, choosing his words. "When I brought him here, his chakra was already in chaos. The awakening of the Mangekyō Sharingan triggered something different. Normally when a Sharingan evolves, it has some effect on the chakra. Now that the evolution is so drastic, it has a very big effect on his body. A normal Uchiha body is not much responsive and will do bare minimum to adjust to the changes, but his is doing its best to mold itself according to the new power it was getting." Jiraiya's steps faltered. "Mangekyō? So he did awaken it after witnessing his friend's death?" "Yes, but that's not the concerning part." Fukasaku stopped at a junction in the path, turning to face his student. "His chakra reserves, which were already remarkable, have tripled since his arrival. And they're still growing. And his body is trying to mold itself for that change," Jiraiya said. "It should be impossible." Fukasaku agreed. "But it's happening." His body was struggling to contain this explosive growth. Under normal circumstances, his chakra network would have been torn apart, his body too underdeveloped to handle such power. They resumed walking, heading toward a structure carved into the living rock of the mountain. "Since you had asked me to take care of the body, I did some things from my side to make sure that body will not become crippled for his life," Fukasaku continued. "Thank you, Fukasaku-san, but what did you do?" Jiraiya asked. We've been using carefully controlled amounts of natural energy to help his body adapt to these changes. Senjutsu chakra. Jiraiya's eyes widened. That's incredibly risky. The slightest imbalance could turn him to stone. For you, yes, but for us not that difficult. Are you forgetting that it is me and Ma who provide you with Senjutsu chakra when you fight? Why do you think it will be difficult for us to do so for a body who is not moving that much? Fukasaku asked. You got a point there. Jiraiya said with an awkward laugh. While discussing, they reached a massive wooden door, ancient seals carved into its surface. See for yourself. The door opened to reveal a chamber bathed in soft green light. At its center stood a crystalline tank filled with translucent liquid that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. Suspended within was Kda, his body floating peacefully in the strange substance. 3 elderly toads sat cross-legged around the tank, their webbed hands pressed against its surface as they channeled chakra into the liquid. Jiraiya approached the tank slowly, studying his student's face. Despite the circumstances that had brought him here, Kda looked serene, almost peaceful. And unlike what Fukasaku had said, he didn't look to be in any danger at all, quite the contrary, he looked much healthier than before. His physique had changed and was becoming more lean and muscular while his height had also increased by a few centimeters. The healing waters of Mount Mayabaku, along with various herbs from the mountains near us. Fukasaku explained, noting Jiraiya's questioning look. Combined with natural energy, they're helping his body adapt to these changes. All these elders are seeing the process personally, so there is nothing for you to worry about. When can I take him back to the village? Jiraiya asked, placing a hand against the cool surface of the tank. Fukasaku shook his head. Not yet. The natural energy we've used to stabilize him needs time to properly integrate with his system. Remove him too soon, and his body will either explode from chakra overload or turn to stone from unbalanced nature energy. Jiraiya nodded, already expecting something like this. The village and his family can wait. Please take good care of him, Fukasaku-san. There's something else you should know. Fukasaku said, his voice lowering. Before falling into his current sleep, the great sage spoke of your student. He said the boy could become crucial to the future, if he doesn't become hell-bent on destroying the world. Jiraiya's expression hardened, but then he remembered something and sighed. That won't happen. Unlike many Uchiha, Kda, though he lost something precious, still has strong bonds tying him to the village. His girlfriend, Yami, survived. He has family in Shizui, Naruto, and he won't fall into darkness so easily. Perhaps. Fukasaku conceded. But expecting him to remain unchanged after this would be foolish. The power he's gaining, the trauma he's experienced, these things leave marks on the soul, Jiraiya boy. Even if he doesn't turn to darkness, the Kda who leaves this mountain won't be the same one who arrived with you few days prior. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the gentle swirl of the healing waters. The elderly toads maintaining the tank haven't moved or spoken, their concentration absolute as they regulated the flow of natural energy. How much has his chakra increased since you brought him here? Jiraiya asked finally. It's still growing. Fukasaku replied. We're monitoring it carefully. The rate of increase has slowed but hasn't stopped. His Mangekyō seems to be acting as a catalyst, pushing his body to evolve beyond normal limitations. We've never seen anything quite like it. Jiraiya ran a hand through his white hair, thinking. The combination of Senju and Uchiha blood, plus the emotional trauma of awakening the Mangekyō. It's creating something new. Something unseen. Jiraiya said. Indeed. The great sage seemed particularly interested in this development. Before entering his sleep, he instructed us to take special care with the boy's treatment if something like this happened. Whatever Kda is becoming, it's significant enough to catch his attention. Fukasaku said. Even though he didn't know what the combination of these two bloodlines meant, it was different for the great sage who had seen what a Notsutsuki is. The toad sage had witnessed that power himself, the power of gods themselves, and what Kda is, an inferior version of the said person. But both Jiraiya and Fukasaku didn't know about this, and for them, whatever was happening to Kda was unknown. After some more time, keep him safe. Jiraiya said finally. I need to return to Hidden Leaf Village and manage the fallout from this attack. But send word immediately if anything changes. Fukasaku nodded. Of course. And Jiraiya boy. He called as his former student turned to leave. Remember what I said. When he wakes, he'll need guidance more than ever. Power like this. It changes people, whether they want it to or not. I know. Jiraiya replied softly. But I have faith in him. His heart is strong, and his bonds are stronger. He won't walk the path of hatred that so many others have chosen. As Jiraiya prepared to return to Hidden Leaf Village, he cast one last look at his student floating in the healing waters. The boy's face remained peaceful, giving no hint of the tremendous changes occurring within him. Whatever it became when he finally awakened, Jiraiya silently vowed to be there to guide him, away from the darkness that had claimed so many powerful shinobi before him, and toward a future worthy of the sacrifices that had brought him to this point. Chapter 364, Nothing else could be done. What do you mean we shouldn't do anything? They literally blew up our outpost, killed 36 of our ninja, and you're saying that we shouldn't do anything? And do what, hide like cowards? One of the clan heads of a minor clan of Hidden Leaf Village, who had lost his brightest ninja in the outpost, shouted loudly. He is not saying we're not going to retaliate. It's just that we're not strong enough to go to war against two major villages at the same time. If we did so, regardless, the loss will be so high that all our progress from the last few years will go down the drain, and we will be nothing but sitting ducks for the next attack. Shikaku said. But if we don't do anything, it will make us appear weak. They may try something like this once again. Fugaku said. Yes, and that's why we are having this meeting. Recently, both Hidden Stones Village and Hidden Clouds Village had released a new list of rogue ninja. Even though they're saying that they had done it before the attack, it clearly contains 80% of ninja who either died or were captured in this attack. They're saying that they did it because these ninja went rogue and wanted to harm the village one last time by destroying the trust between villages or hopefully starting a war. Hidden Clouds Village said it will make a division to hunt down those ninja themselves. Shikaku said. They're not even trying to come up with excuses. Are they really underestimating us this much? Hamura said. They're counting on the fact that we will not start a war anyway, which we really can't, and this is also their way of telling us to stay in our place. The stunt of the Chunin exam really had affected many. Shikaku said. So are we really going to pretend like nothing happened for the time being? Koharu was the one to ask this time. Yes, but don't we also have some wannabe rogue ninja? What can we do if they try something similar to the outpost of Hidden Clouds Village or Hidden Stones Village? Hiruzen said. But, Hayashi was about to say when Shikaku interrupted him with the same smile as Hiruzen. No, Hayashi-san, they will not be able to start the war either. Even though Hidden Leaf Village will not be able to get an overwhelming victory if the war started, we would still win, and they know that too. There is no way they will start the war at any cost either. Shikaku said, and his guess was so true that even when Hiruzen died, the other villages still didn't attack Hidden Leaf Village, let alone now. So we're going to destroy 2 outposts and then they will retaliate by destroying 4 of ours. This will lead to war either today or tomorrow. Why go through this big process? Inoichi asked. I don't think so. They will know about this as well, and also that we will try something similar in retaliation, so they have increased the security of each of their outposts. But if we destroy an outpost in such conditions, it will show them Hidden Leaf Village really has become strong enough to keep hiding in a shell. Shikaku said. And how will we do? Fugaku was saying when the room of the office opened. Fugaku, are you busy? Jiraiya asked as he entered the room. The entire room became awkward, with the most uncomfortable being the Anbu ninja who failed to stop Jiraiya outside. Yes, Jiraiya, he is in the meeting regarding the attack which you should be attending as well. Hiruzen said with annoyance at his student's actions. No need, sensei. I am sure you and Shikaku-san will be kind enough to tell us about the summary after the meeting ends. For now, I have something I want to ask Fugaku about, something very important. Can I take him with me for a second? Jiraiya asked, with his usual joyful tone. No, whatever it is could wait for the meeting to end. Hiruzen said, with a frown on his forehead. Trust me, sensei, it couldn't. It will just take 2 minutes at max. Jiraiya said, now a little more serious. Come back in 2 minutes. You both are going to join the meeting after that. Hiruzen said. Of course, sensei. Jiraiya said and left with Fugaku while Hiruzen and Shikaku exchanged glances. This had to be really important for Jiraiya to agree to attend a meeting, but keeping that point aside, Shikaku took command of the meeting once again. What is it, Jiraiya-sama? Fugaku asked when they were in an office allocated to Jiraiya. Though he never used it, it was still a place where only the 2 of them were, and no third person could hear anything discussed in the room, thanks to Fuinjutsu. I know what I am going to ask is a little very personal, but it is something important. Jiraiya said, now completely serious, his usual joyful tone gone. Please go ahead. Uchiha, my student and your clan member, has awakened Mangekyō Sharingan as well. Fugaku's eyes went wide at this. Until now, he didn't know anything about this whole situation regarding Kda at all, but being a clan head, he calmed himself down in a moment and asked the first question which came to his mind. When and where? It was a very important part since he himself knew the conditions such scenarios are possible. During the attack, from what I know. Jiraiya told Fugaku everything he knew about the incident and how his friend must have died in front of him to awaken the Mangekyō. That is the most likely scenario, but I don't get why you wanted to tell me all this so suddenly and not wait for the meeting to end? Fugaku asked. Fugaku, is it normal for Uchiha to get a chakra increase after they get Mangekyō Sharingan? Jiraiya asked. Fugaku sighed, now understanding what Jiraiya meant by personal question, but it's not like he was sharing some weakness. Please keep it between us, but yes, it is normal. Our body adapts to the evolution of Sharingan, and the most visible one is from Mangekyō. Our chakra almost gets doubled due to that. Fugaku said, understanding what Jiraiya wanted to ask. Sigh, and what if it increases 3 times and keeps on increasing further? Jiraiya asked. Is it happening to Kida? Fugaku asked, getting a nod from Jiraiya. Normally it would have been good news, but he knew how big Kida's chakra reserves were, and 3 times that amount is not something that could be taken lightly. It was like filling a balloon which has a capacity of 10 liters of water being filled by 30 liters. Normally the amount increases from 10 to 20, and that in itself would put significant strain on the chakra network, let alone 30 and still increasing. Where is he? Fugaku asked. He is being treated by someone I know. Don't worry, he is out of danger now. I just wanted to know if Uchiha had any special method to counter what was happening to him, but from your expression, I can say that you are listening about something like this for the first time as well? Jiraiya asked. Yes, and sadly we don't have anything special other than some herbs to ease the pain and strain, but they wouldn't help if the strain is so high. If whatever you or whoever you know is doing is keeping him stable, then please carry on with that. Otherwise, there is a high chance his chakra pathway will get damaged. Fugaku said. Fine, now let's go back, otherwise, my sensei will get really mad at us. Jiraiya said. Now that he had confirmed that Kida was already getting the best treatment he could, and there was nothing more the Uchiha clan could do, he decided to leave Kida to Mount Myabaku for now. Chapter 365, Youth. So it is final, we are not going to pursue this any longer. The family of any ninja who gave their life for the village during this attack will be properly compensated. The details will be finalized later. As for our retaliation, we will start that project in 1 month. And complete it in this 1 month as well. Hiruzen completed Shikaku's report and looked toward everyone present in the room. After 1 hour of continuous meeting, they had reached this conclusion. His eyes scanned the room for any dissatisfaction, pausing at his student who was sleeping with his eyes open, a technique he himself had taught him. Sighing in his heart, he continued. The meeting is completed. You may leave, and I don't think I have to mention that everything we discussed here is confidential. Hiruzen said. Everyone nodded, bowed to Hiruzen one last time before they left for their destination. Not you, Jiraiya, I have something I want to discuss with you. Hiruzen said, stopping Jiraiya who was trying to sneak out with the crowd. After everyone left, Hiruzen activated the seal of the room once again. When are you going to start? Hiruzen asked, seeing his student just sit back after that order. Saikida knew, had an assumption about the attack because the Toad Sage had given him a warning about something. I didn't know what at that time since he didn't tell me full details. So when they were sent to different outposts, Kida kept sending shadow clones to keep a close eye on his family and friends, to be sure they were safe. Due to that, he knew about the attack as soon as it happened, went to protect them, but the distance of 150 plus kilometers couldn't be crossed fast enough to save everyone. He was late and his friend died, and from what I can guess, not much before he reached there. The pain must have been too much. Jiraiya said. Hiruzen and Shikaku's expressions were grim now, understanding what was happening and having an idea of what was about to happen. As you guys have guessed, he awakened Mangekyō Sharingan, killed 11 to 12 ninjas, but for some reason let one run away. Now he is unconscious as he is a special case. His body is not behaving like a normal Chiha's would, and is at risk of being broken. Permanent damage for life will be the best option, and death being the worst, if Fukasaku-san hadn't helped him in time. Now he is on Mount Myabaku getting treatment. I wanted to confirm that the Uchiha didn't have something better for this scenario. Wait a minute, why did he let one of them go? Shikaku asked, now deep in thought about the whole thing as everything was much more complicated. How sure are you that person was left by Kida and didn't actually come after to check the team before him? By the dead bodies still on ground, 100%. Jiraiya said. Sigh. Youth. Hiruzen sighed. Even though Shikaku was really intelligent, Hiruzen had decades of experience on his shoulders, it was not hard for him to figure out what had happened. Surely not. Shikaku said with a face like it was the most absurd thing he would ever hear. Yeah, it was mostly out of anger. He must have left him to deliver his threat to the main culprit behind his friend's death. Hiruzen said. But that would leak info about his power. Since he had just awakened it, It could have been a trump card we could use anytime. Shikaku said. Yes, but in times of anger, it is difficult to make the right decision, especially for someone so young. But that is not important right now, all this is just speculation. For now, let's wait for Kida to recover so that we will know the complete truth. Hiruzen said and then looked toward Jiraiya. How long will he stay at Mount Myabaku? I don't know. It could be few days, weeks, or maybe even months. All I know is that he will stay there till he is perfectly fine. Jiraiya said, at which Hiruzen and Shikaku nodded their heads. Next morning, Jiraiya also told Kida's family about his condition, about how he is in a difficult situation and is getting treated somewhere safe. He will come back when he is fine. Hidden Clouds Village. Many elders and clan heads were sitting in the meeting hall of Hidden Clouds Village. There were two pieces of news in front of them. One was very good, which should have brought joy to their faces. Their attack was successful. They eliminated all of Hidden Leaf Village's forces on the outpost. The complete outpost was demolished. It was everything they wanted to achieve, but it was the second report that was a big problem for them. We lost 2 Jonin, 4 special Jonin, and 3 Chunin, while Hidden Stones Village lost 5 special Jonin and 4 Chunin, all to nothing because of one person. C said, explaining the scenario. I can understand this, accidents happen. Even though we had some loss, Hidden Leaf Village had much worse, so those are not the worst factors. The worst thing is the second part of the report. C, are you really sure that Chunin is not under any Ganjutsu? One of the elders asked. No, he has been checked multiple times, and from what we know from mother testimony, it matches completely. Uchiha's clone was trying to protect 3 children, most likely his friends, and then when he really appeared on the battlefield, there should have been death of some of them, if not all. It may have been the reason for his Sharingan to evolve, since it is not a mystery that happens, we all have seen that in wars. C said, so an 11-year-old brat thinks that he can erase my village out of existence just because he had awakened some power? Looks like my reputation has grown weak, now even a child can think he can speak anything in front of me? A said, anger evident in his voice. But others didn't share the same anger because if the first part of the report was true, then that means the second part may be true as well. In the second part, there was the description of power the Chunin felt, and from what he had described, it was like he was in the presence of a god. Without his permission, they couldn't even breathe there. When asked for details, the Chunin shuddered and fainted. After many medicines and rest was he able to give complete details which were now in front of the council, and unlike A, they couldn't take it lightly. Aside from his attitude, it is not a hidden fact that Hidden Leaf Village has now gained 1 more S rank in their ever-increasing arsenal, and that 2 Uchiha who are a pain in the ass even as Jonin. One of the most senior elders said. He was an elite Jonin even at the time of the 3rd Raikage and his trusted aide as well, so his words had weight in the council even now. Yes, Masaki-sama, and now it looks like it was us who faced more loss than Hidden Leaf Village. They had lost 37 ninjas but got an S rank way more valuable than the number. As for us, we only lost without gaining anything. Another elder said. For now, let's focus on Hidden Leaf Village's retaliation. This boy can wait since there is no way Hiruzen would let that boy leave the village for months, at least not until everything settles down. But the attack from Hidden Leaf Village will come back soon, and most likely in the same format. Masaki said. We already planned for this and will go with the same plan. Both Hidden Stones Village and us will increase the security at the border outpost and increase the number of spies in the Fire Country. The same thing Hidden Leaf Village did and still lost an outpost. No, they only strengthened their outpost near our borders, and if we had attacked them, a force at least twice the one we used would have been required. But we will not make the same mistake and will strengthen all borders even if we have to stop taking some missions for now. That will not matter much in the long run. A said. If you think this is enough, then do it. Masaki said, and everyone agreed with him as well. Chapter 366, Awake. What do you mean we had to run away? He was just a single boy, same age as me. You think he would have been a threat to 100 ninja along with you, me, and 2 others with the same power level as us? If you were so afraid, you could have just told me, I would have handled him myself. Deidara shouted at Kitsuchi. That was the reason he didn't tell you, Deidara. You wouldn't have listened to his commands otherwise. You're still stuck on your loss in the Chunin exam, it's about time you leave that behind. For a ninja, anger is the worst issue they could have, and not knowing your own power level along with your enemies is even worse. Onoki said, coming from behind. So you want to say he is more powerful than me? Deidara asked. Yes, and I'm not saying, I'm telling you. Onoki said, like it was not an assumption but a fact. What the hell did he do that I couldn't do? Just killing 10 ninjas? I can kill 10 ninja in one attack as well, just give me a chance. Deidara said. There is no doubt you can, even an elite Jonin can do that, and you are almost leaving that territory. Onoki said. Then why do you think he is more powerful than me? Deidara asked. Because the enemy you will kill will only see you as a powerful shinobi, that's it. But the one who came back from his attack didn't say that, he presented him as a god. That power difference means that there was not even a chance for someone weaker in the first place to go against that person. I have only seen 2 persons whom I felt the same feeling from. Considering I was already Kage level at that time, those 2 and he couldn't be compared, but the estimation could be made. He is already in an area where an elite Jonin will not have any chance against him at all, alone that is. But for now, you are no match against him. Practice some more and maybe you will be in the future. Onoki said, remembering how a single man barged into Hidden Stone's village, and all of Hidden Stone's village with him and his sensei, the second Sushi Kage of Hidden Stone's village, couldn't do anything rather than kneel. If that monster was not stopped by another monster of the same level, then the whole ninja world would have been under Hidden Leaf Village for who knows how long. TCH. Without any reply, Deidara left the room. He is still young. Once he matures, he will understand how the world works. Onoki said. Sir, what should we do now? Are we going to keep increasing the security of the border like planned earlier? Kitsuchi was not part of the meeting that took place some time before, but he was important enough to know what was the decision of the higher-ups of Hidden Stone's village. Yes. As there is nothing else we can do. Hidden Leaf Village is going to guard their new S-rank thoroughly for now, and they will retaliate for sure. They already were close to recovering their strength. Now that they have one more S-rank, there is no way they will take this attack lying down. Make sure that all of our borders are highly secured. I don't want to lose a single outpost and give them the satisfaction of revenge. Even though it may seem like a big thing, the number of ninja lost was not significant for any major village. To be practical, they lost more ninja during missions if they went wrong. What mattered was pride. Hidden Cloud's village and Hidden Stone's village were not damaging Hidden Leaf Village with the attack. They were showing Hidden Leaf Village that it was not strongest anymore and there would be consequences if they still believed that. And they knew when it would be Hidden Leaf Village's turn, it would show them that it is still the strongest village. If that happened, it would either be war or taking a blow to reputation and keeping silence. Since they couldn't start a war for now, the only other option they had was to make sure Hidden Leaf Village would not be able to retaliate. Even though someone suggested attacking one more outpost, the idea was rejected without a second thought. If Hidden Leaf Village had one thing, it was numbers. The talent-rich Hidden Leaf Village didn't have any shortage of ninja to increase the security of their borders. Even though they would have to reduce some missions for now, the security of each outpost was now almost double. There was no way to get the same result without a force twice the previous size, and that too would not be a surety since Hidden Leaf Village would now be alert. So only defense was the remaining option. Kitsuchi nodded and went to follow the order, while Onoki remained behind, his eyes focused outside while his mind focused on an old memory, a memory in which he was kneeling in front of an enemy who could have easily killed the most powerful ninja of his village without breaking a sweat. And now someone of the same bloodline wanted to become like him. Onoki didn't have a nice feeling about this. With all the ninja world moving, days passed, 1, 2, 3. But the boy in a cave on Mount Myabaku didn't show a sign of awakening at all. He kept floating in green liquid, continued to be supplied with very little amounts of nature chakra, which was not increasing his already large chakra reserves but was absorbed by his body to make a perfect vessel for the boy. As days passed, his chakra expansion slowly decreased in speed, finally stopping at the end of the 3rd day, at the same time when Fukasaku called Jiraiya. Is he going to regain consciousness? Jiraiya asked, standing in front of Mount Myabaku. I hope so. There is nothing wrong with his body now, so he should be awake soon, most likely when he will be out of this tank. That's why I brought you here, so that he will not panic the moment he wakes up. I would not want to blow up a cave for a boy, you know. Fukasaku said as one toad opened the tank and brought Kda out of it while removing the mask from his face. As soon as he was laid on the ground, Kda slowly opened his eyes, which cautiously scanned the surroundings the moment he became conscious. You are safe, Kda? Jiraiya said. Where is the storage scroll I was carrying? The first question Kda asked, not how he was there, what happened, but that. It is safe and sound. We will provide it to you whenever you want. This time it was Fukasaku who said that. Kda nodded and stood up, looking toward his own body in astonishment. It was like he was in someone else's body. If he was correct, then he was a few centimeters taller, and his body was now filled with more muscles than even his previous body, which was the result of rigorous exercise. And all of those muscles were now full of power. The thing that would have made others happy failed to attract Kda's attention for more than a second before he looked for his clothes. Here, how are you feeling? Jiraiya asked, giving Kda his clothes. I am fine, sensei, but why am I here? The asked, finally registering that he was on Mount Myabaku from the presence of toads as well as nature energy in the surroundings, which he could feel for some reason. Due to your unique bloodline, when you awakened Mangekyō, your body was trying to adapt to it too much, and the chance of it destroying itself in the process was too high. So to save you, we had to bring you here. The toads did their best to save you. Jiraiya said, pointing toward a glass tube behind Da. You have been in there for 3 days, cared for by toads all the time. Thank you. I am in your debt. Da said, bowing toward Fukasaku. No worry, boy. For now, focus on yourself. Fukasaku said, after which he and other toads left the cave, leaving Jiraiya and Da alone. Why don't we have a walk, Da? Jiraiya asked. Chapter 367, Promise why don't we have a walk, Da? Jiraiya asked, his voice filled with genuine care. Sure, sensei. Da replied, as they slowly made their way to a peaceful walk around the lush green surroundings and rugged paths of Mount Myabaku. How are you, Da? Jiraiya asked after they had been walking for 5 minutes. I am feeling better than ever, sensei, like I am an all-powerful deity. Maybe I could even defeat you now. Da said, giving away a cheerful smile. I'm not talking about your body, boy. I'm talking about you. How are you feeling inside? There's no need to suppress it, Da. No one is going to judge you. It's okay to let out emotion. It's okay to be vulnerable. Jiraiya said. That is not why I am suppressing them, sensei. From the moment I saw the dead body of Ryota in front of me, I have been feeling an immense amount of bloodlust. I don't know how to control it other than suppressing it. Da said, his previous mask of joy broken with an expressionless face left behind. There is no need to suppress your emotions, Da. If you do that, you will only hurt yourself. Jiraiya said, but then a thick red, almost tangible bloodlust filled the surroundings, like a demon was appearing behind Da. But sensei, if I don't suppress it, I will not be able to stop myself from going on a senseless killing in Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village. Da said with a mixture of pain and anger visible on his face. Jiraiya was not affected by the bloodlust, or he didn't care if he was even affected. He placed his hand on Da's hand and said, I know how you are feeling, boy, trust me I know, but this is not how you or anyone can live their life. Giving in to anger is not good for anyone, especially for a ninja. Think about the family which is waiting for you in Hidden Leaf Village. Your mother he has been pestering me daily about your health for the last 3 days. Your girlfriend Yami, though in bad condition herself, accompanies her to know about your health. A young brat is also waiting for his big brother to come back. And a big brother who almost performed treason by not following Hokage's order to come and meet you when he was informed about your condition. Having such a family, how could you even think about putting yourself in danger and leaving them behind? So calm down and think about things clearly. Jiraiya said, seeing the bloodlust going down slowly. Da turned, seeing the far distance in the valley in front of them like thinking something. Jiraiya also went silent, letting Da come to terms with the situation. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Time kept passing but both of them remained standing silently, watching the scenery in front of them. I am fine, sensei. Da said, still looking ahead. Good to know. Jiraiya replied as a small smile came on his face. Now that this was out of the way, he asked the second question that was bugging the mind of Hiruzen and Shikaku along with him as well. Why did you let a single ninja run away that night? Jiraiya asked. Because he didn't kill anyone. Da replied. What if he tells everyone about you? They will come after you with their full power. Jiraiya said, thinking it was because of softness of the heart. I don't have any problem with that, as I had already sent a message with that Chunin that there will be only 3 major villages in the future. Da said, his expression as calm as ever, but Jiraiya's turned weird like he heard a joke he didn't know how to respond to. But then he released a sigh. It's okay, Da, we all do dumb things in anger. He said. I was completely serious about that then as I am now. I had promised my deceased friend and brother, there will be only 3 great villages in the future. I will do everything in my power to keep that promise, sensei. Da said. Da, I already taught you that anger, I am not angry, sensei, but that doesn't mean I am going to break my promise, not until I die. Da said, his words leaving no place for any doubt. Jiraiya looked toward Da for quite some time, trying to see what value those words held in the heart of his student. He once again sighed after a few moments. And how are you going to do it, kill every ninja in those 2 villages? Jiraiya asked. No, I promised my friend that those responsible for his death will pay the price. It has nothing to do with innocent people, whether they are ninja or not doesn't matter. I don't know how I will do it for now, but I will do it for sure, sensei. Da said. And this time Jiraiya was proud of his student. Even at such a time, he was still rational. Very few people in their world could achieve something like this. We will discuss about it after you rest some more. For now, let's go back, your family is waiting for you. Jiraiya said, at which Kida nodded his head, as he had something important to do as well. Are you fine, Kida? Were you injured? Where were you? Are you feeling pain anywhere? A barrage of questions came toward Kida as soon as he returned home. He was waiting for him in the house, while Yami was behind her, her head low like she couldn't meet his gaze. I am fine, Aunt. I was just exhausted, but now I am fine and hungry. I have missed your food so much these past few days, can you please make something for me? Kida asked. Sure, go and take a bath. Food will be ready soon. He said and went to the kitchen to prepare food. Kida walked toward Yami after only they were left in the hall. I will go and help Aunt. Yami said, still not looking Kida in his eyes, but before she could run away, Kida gently caught her hand. It was not your fault. Was the only thing he said, not because he was worried about Yami, no, he said it because it was truth. How was it not my fault? You said to not take the mission, you asked us to stay here, but I was a stubborn fool. I was the one who wanted to grow. And that stubbornness cost us our friend. No, it was a perfectly logical decision to follow orders of Lord Third, and what would be the use of all that training if we stayed hidden in our house at every indication of threat? Also, Ryota didn't give his life for no reason, he sacrificed his life for his friends. You shouldn't demean it by saying it was a loss, rather be proud to have such a friend like I am. I will try to become as courageous as he was, and you do that too. Kida said, hugging Yami in the last part. He could feel his shirt becoming wet, but he didn't pay any attention to that and kept in that position for long enough for Yami to calm down. He heard this from the kitchen, a small smile formed on her face as she continued cooking. Chapter 368, Promise, Part 2, After they ate, an Anbu ninja came to Kida's house. Lord Third has sent a summons. Please report to the Hokage office at 10 a.m. The Anbu ninja said, getting a nod and return before he disappeared again. I will come back soon. Kida said. Since it was already 9:30, he decided to go and check what the Hokage had to say to him before doing something which was very important for him, but at the same time was something he was dreading to do. Sir, Uchiha is here. An Anbu ninja reported. Since the time given to him was 10 a.m., and there were still 15 minutes remaining, Kida decided to wait in the lobby. Send him in. Hyuga said, storing away the file from the table. After a minute, a knock came from the door. Come in. Good morning, Lord Third. Kida said, entering the office. Good morning, child. Come, take a seat. Hyuga said like he was talking to his grandchild. I came to know about the events you had been through recently. I know it is hard for you, but I am happy to find out that you are moving forward. Hyuga said, at which Kida nodded his head, not in a mood to continue the grandfather-grandchild play. Understanding the situation, Hyuga sighed and said, we are going to retaliate against Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village. Both of them will lose one of their outposts. We are going to take revenge for our ninja, so don't worry about that. That will not be true revenge. Those ninja at the outpost are not responsible for the death of my friend. Those responsible for it will be sitting in their offices, counting the wins and losses by the amount of lives they took or lost with a decision. Kida said. Hyuga was stunned by Kida's reply. He didn't expect to be given such a blow to his face, but Kida had no intention of doing that. He was speaking his mind, as his mind didn't want to indulge in any formalities for now. After a moment, Hyuga sighed. But we can't do anything against them, Kida. Otherwise, a war will start and many more lives will be lost. For now, we can only retaliate so that no such event happens again. Hyuga said, trying to present logic to the young boy who didn't know that the world was not only black and white. This time it was Kida who sighed, after which his eyes became extremely focused and sharp. Even though he had not activated Sharingan, the effect was similar as he started speaking. I hope you know that I let a ninja run away when I killed his full group. Kida asked. Hyuga nodded his head, letting Kida complete. He didn't run away out of mercy, he ran away because he was carrying my message to the higher-ups of Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village, the message which I had promised my friend. There will be only 3 ninja villages in the future. Kida said as he stopped suppressing and hiding his chakra, showing the true extent he had grown in just 3 days. Hyuga's eyes went wide for both reasons. The boy in front of him had more chakra than anyone in Hidden Leaf Village at the moment. Even Jiraiya would not be able to stand against the boy in terms of chakra reserves unless he went into sage mode. With the chakra came the pressure. Even though it didn't affect Hyuga in the slightest, because he had faced 2 monsters who had much more chakra than the boy in front of him, So much that it would be an insult to even compare, but the fact that shocked him was the age of the boy. He was just 10 years old. Not something that could even be considered teen, and was still powerful enough that few individuals in Hidden Leaf Village would be able to stop him if he decided to move against them. And with this came the weight behind his words, no matter how ridiculous they sounded. For a moment Hiruzen couldn't shake off a feeling that it may become true in the future. But being a Hokage, he quickly dismissed his shock and calmed down. Duh, it is easy to let strength get to your head when you get so much in such a short amount of time, but let me tell you, the strength you have, even though it must have felt like invincible, is not enough to go against a major village on your own. Hiruzen said. I know, Lord Third. I know that I am not strong enough to do anything against those giants on my own. I know that I couldn't even put up a fight against you if you decided to go all out. I would lose in a minute. But this is not going to stop me from achieving my goals. If not now, then in the future, but I will achieve them for sure. Kda said. Hiruzen could only sigh after hearing that. It was nice to know that the boy in front of him was not drunk on power and thinking himself on top of the world, as such people are the ones who die first. He also put the talk about destruction of 2 major villages as something resulting from anger. He couldn't even remember how many times he had either thought or heard such bold words in his lifetime. Even though the boy in front of him had maximum conviction he had seen until now behind those words, at the end they were still words. Once he would find how big of a difference reality and dreams had, he would come back to reality. So he sighed and said, take some rest, Kda. For now, there is no need to take any mission. We will have a funeral for every deceased ninja from the attack in 2 days. Hiruzen said and dismissed the boy. Kda came out of the office, his eyes looking toward the sky. He had shared his goal with 2 people until now, and the result was something similar to pity in their eyes, like they were looking at a boy who was saying he would shatter the moon one day, not knowing reality. And even he himself knew how big of a claim he was making. He couldn't even eradicate the attack force behind the attack even when he had the chance, and he was to do it for a village that is multiple times more powerful than them. But he had already made a promise. Now the question was no longer whether, but when. After a long time, he removed his eyes from the sky and looked toward a direction he was dreading to go. In a dark cave, a figure emerged from a room that was too out of place in the environment, covered in so many seals that even if many Fu Injutsu grandmasters along with Byakugan users were told of its location, they would still not be able to find it. I was waiting for you to come out for so long. I have something very interesting to tell you. Zetsu said, his face still having a wide smirk even though he was going to give bad news. Did something happen in such a short time? Obi asked. He had been training for the past month by himself. Even after being trained by the Madara Uchiha himself, he was still not at a level where he could put all of his plans in motion at all. That's why he was training to reach that level as soon as he could. Yes, something very interesting. Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village joined forces to attack Hidden Leaf Village. They destroyed one of their border outposts completely. Zetsu said and then looked toward Toby for his expression, which was covered with a mask as always, but he could still see an eye which was looking toward him emotionlessly. I am sure this is not the interesting thing you wanted to talk about. Toby asked, not wanting to follow up with Zetsu's play. Hearing that, Zetsu's face grew wider as he said. Chapter 369, Grief. I am sure this is not the interesting thing you wanted to talk about. Toby said, not wanting to follow up with Zetsu's play. Hearing that, Zetsu's face grew wider as he said, Hidden Leaf Village had gained one more S rank, and he is from the Uchiha clan. Toby kept on looking toward Zetsu, wanting more information, but Zetsu could see slight annoyance in Toby's eyes. Remember the boy I told you about, brother of Shizue Uchiha who went to Hidden Clouds Village for the Chunin exam? Well, he awakened the Mangekyō Sharingan after seeing his friend die in that attack. I remember telling you to keep a close eye on him. If he had awakened the Mangekyō, he should have been very weak at that time. Why is he not captured or killed till now? Toby asked, his eyes showing annoyance, but that was only visible for someone at Black Zetsu's level, a being who had lived for thousands of years. For a normal person, there was no emotion in Toby's eyes at all, though there was no one else there other than these two. I tried. The moment I got to know about this, I went there, but by then an elder of Mount Myabaku had appeared near that boy. I didn't want to test my stealth skills in front of such a being, so I didn't participate further, especially considering he could have run away as soon as he felt any danger, leaking my abilities to the world. Toby just gave a slight nod to Zetsu before he began pondering the future. Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village seemed hell-bent on starting the next ninja war. Even though there were low chances, it showed how little this world truly valued life. This cemented his already presented belief. I have to complete the final plan, so that everyone can find true peace and I can finally meet I am going to keep surveillance, but the chances of finding anything about the boy are low. He will be in Mount Mayabaka for some time, followed by his arrival in the Uchiha district. Both of these areas are out of reach for me, so for now, we have to continue with the assumption that Hidden Lee Village had gained a new S-rank whose abilities are unknown for now. Zetsu interrupted Obi's chain of thoughts, only getting a nod before he was eaten by a plant eerily similar to a Venus flytrap and was submerged in the ground once again, the same way he came to the cave. Leaving behind a man in an orange, spiraled mask, thinking about the future alone, he still didn't have many pieces to start the process. So, for now, he had to wait and build his and his organization's strength until he could confidently move in the world without worrying about those major villages at all. At the thought of major villages, he remembered a major village he had actively involved himself with, a village which was still paying the price for the death of his friend. The mood of the Inuzuka clan was somber. They had lost two of their promising ninja in the recent attack, one of them being a special jonin while the other was a recently promoted chunin at a young age of 10. He had a very high chance to achieve jonin, even elite jonin rank in the future. In a clan where even the clan head was just a stronger elite jonin, such an achievement mattered very much, so the whole clan was sad about the loss they faced. But their sadness didn't even come close to that of two people, those who had lost their only son in the attack. The son who was just celebrating his promotion to chunin rank and was boasting about soon achieving jonin rank to catch up with his friend. They both were really happy for their son. He was getting the success every parent dreamed of for their children, and the next second, the news of his death reached their ears. The amount of anger they were feeling was only second to their sadness. When both of these people were sitting in their home, not willing to move at all, their two dogs laying on the ground with them as well. All four of them had not eaten in 2 days, but not one of them even thought of hunger as their mind was plagued by sadness. Dong ding, suddenly their doorbell rang. Yasuhiro Inuzuka, Ryota's father, stood up to go and check who was at the door, already prepared to return the person if he was someone who came to give them advice to move on. "Who are you?" Yasuhiro asked in a gentle tone, as instead of a person of his clan, there was a boy the same age as his son, most likely his classmate who came to pay his condolences. "Hello sir, I am Uchiha." "I am," was Ryota's friend. Kda, who couldn't find words to speak in front of a father whose son died mostly because of him, or so he thought. But the person who heard that became even more emotional. The friend his son used to talk about was in front of him. From what he knew, Kda was injured and was in medical care. "Come inside, son," Yasuhiro said as he opened the gate more. Kda, who didn't want to hold the next conversation on the door, nodded and followed Yasuhiro inside the house. "Honey, Kda, Ryota's friend is here," Yasuhiro shouted, and in a minute his wife also came down from her room. Since Ryota's room was on the ground floor, they were not coming down to revisit all of those painful memories once again. "Uchiha, right? Ryota always used to talk about you, about how you are his true rival and one day he will beat you by becoming an elite jonin before you." A smile formed on Ryota's mother's face when she remembered her son. But Kda's eyes were focused on the two people in front of him. Being a medical ninja with more than enough experience, it was not hard for Kda to see the condition of the two people in front of him. He sighed. The topic he was going to discuss would only worsen their condition further. "And, I was also injured during the attack and recently came back from the hospital. I am really hungry. Can I please use your kitchen to make something for myself?" Kda asked. No. Why would you make something? Just tell me what you want to eat. Please let me do it," Kda said with genuine worry in his eyes, at which both of them could only sigh and let him cook. And in just 15 minutes, the table was filled with light food. Since he could see they had not eaten for quite a long time, he had only cooked light food like porridge, mixed with a lighter dose of calming medicine he once developed when his family was in shambles after the information about Shishui's father was given to them. "I have cooked a little too much. Can you guys please join me? It is rather lonely to eat alone," Kda said. Even though both of them could see what Kda was trying to do, they couldn't bring themselves to say no to a boy who was reminding them of their own son. Chapter 370, Impossible Goals. "I have cooked a little too much. Can you guys please join me? It is rather lonely to eat alone," Kda said. Even though both of them could see what Kda was trying to do, they couldn't bring themselves to say no to a boy who was reminding them of their own son. All three of them sat at the table to begin eating. Kda had also not forgotten about the two bear-sized dogs in the room, presenting something specially made for them too. Seeing Ryota's parents eating, those two also started eating as well. For the next minute, the dining table was silent, with only a few sobs escaping the unfortunate parents. Kda also didn't say anything for the time being, just focusing on the food. After 1 hour of slow lunch, they finally finished eating. Yasuhiro turned to his wife, who finally got some peace, though she still had a somber expression on her face. At least she was not looking like she had lost all reason to live. He was about to thank Kida for this when the boy in front of them went to the ground with his forehead touching the floor. I am sorry. I don't know how I should say this, but if I don't, I will not be able to live. When we were about to go to the outpost, I had an inkling feeling something bad was about to happen. I was worried about Yami, who was going to be alone in an outpost, but then I found out that Ryota will be going with her as well. When I shared my problem with him, he told me he will take care of her. He promised me that. And at the end, he died protecting her. He stayed behind to stop the enemy so that Yami could run away. I know it was his decision to be a hero, to sacrifice himself for a friend, but I can't shake off the feeling that I am also a reason behind your son's death. Please give me any punishment you see fit. An earnest plea came from the boy kneeling in front of them, reopening the wounds which were slowly closing. Duh. You know I'm sad about my son's death. I am so sad that I want to lose my life, to go and meet him in the Pure Lands. But aside from that sadness, there is also a pride I have for my son. We all have to die in the end, but he chose to not succumb to fear or any other malice and chose to sacrifice himself for a friend. He died the death of a hero. I will not allow you to have a share of that, so I will not allow you to take any blame as well. You have nothing to do with my son's death, understand? Yasuhiro asked. Yes, sir. Kida said. Then he stood up, passed a scroll to the family, and silently left the house. As soon as he left, loud wails started coming from inside, but he didn't go inside. He just sat on the ground there, looking toward the sky, letting the last reunion between parent and son alone. After a very long time, the wailing finally stopped and the process of the burial of the dead started. In Yuzuko had their own customs for the dead, where the ninja was buried with their companion. If they died at different times, their graves would be adjacent to each other. But since the loyalty of these dogs was too much, they normally followed their master to death on the battlefield. Just like Kiba, who followed Ryota to death even though he could have easily run away and saved his life, Kida was joined by Yami and many other classmates he had, showing how well liked Ryota was, a friend to each and every student of the class. All of them remained in the background as the clan completed the ritual. The faces of both of Ryota's parents were something Kida was not able to see after he left the house, always keeping his eyes on the ground. After the ceremony was completed, people started leaving while Kida and Yami remained there, along with Ryota's parents, sitting in front of Ryota's grave. When the sun was about to go down, Yasuhiro stood up and came to Yami. Child, can you take Ryota's mom to the house? It is getting late. Yasuhiro said. Yami looked toward him and then toward Kida, understanding that he must want to talk to Kida about something. She nodded and took Ryota's mom to their house. While Yasuhiro took a seat next to Kida, he asked, Do you know about the ninja who killed my son? Both of them are dead. He fought a squad alone, containing 2 special Jonin and 2 Chunin. By the time I reached there, he had already killed 2 already, and the remaining 2 were injured as well. I am sorry I couldn't control myself at that time and killed the remaining 2 as well. Kida said. Sigh. I can't even take revenge for my son. It's all his fault, though. Who asked him to find such good friends? Yasuhiro said, a small smile forming on his face, which looked a mixture of sadness and pride. The revenge is still not completed, sir. It will be completed when those who were actually behind the death of my friend pay for it. But there's still a long way before we could do anything about them. Kida said. After which Kida stood in silence for a long time, his gaze fixed on Ryota's grave as the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon. The evening breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it a quiet solemnity. Yasuhiro remained seated, his expression unreadable. Finally, Kida turned and took a deep breath. His heart was heavy, but the weight only strengthened his resolve. He knew that lingering here would not bring Ryota back or fulfill the promise he had just made. With a respectful bow to Yasuhiro, Kida spoke softly, I will take my leave. Please take some rest as well. Yasuhiro nodded, though his eyes remained on the grave. Don't let this change you, son. This is just a part of life. Though he himself didn't know how much he could follow these words. As Kida walked away from the burial site, the crisp night air seemed to sharpen his thoughts. He needed clarity, not just for his emotions but for the path ahead. Without hesitation, he made his way to the Uchiha compound, where he requested the most secluded meditation room available. Once inside, Kida closed the door behind him, shutting out the world and its noise. The room was dimly lit, with a faint glow from a single candle illuminating the polished wooden floor filled with various seals, whose main function was to just increase the concentration of the user. He moved to the center of the room and sat down cross-legged, his back straight, his hands resting on his knees. For a moment, he let himself feel everything, the grief, the anger, the guilt, and the burning determination that simmered beneath it all. Then, slowly, he began to breathe, focusing on the rise and fall of his chest. Each breath became a rhythm, steady and deliberate, as he pushed the swirling chaos within him into stillness. His mind went through various scenarios. In one of them, he was even planning on increasing his strength so much that he himself would be enough to destroy a ninja village by himself. But he quickly shook that thought. He was not dumb enough to not know his power level himself. With his Mangekyō, he was already in the League of S rank, but he was left completely chakra exhausted in a minute, even considering the fact that he deliberately overused his chakra. But it showed a clear picture to him about his strength. At most, he would be able to go against a force 5 times that, and now that his chakra reserves have more than doubled from that time, 10 times, but the point still stood. Going against 100 ninja alone is a feat in itself, which will make a great name, but was nowhere near strong enough to go against a whole ninja village alone. If he wanted to really do something, he had to think something different, like Chapter 371, Deep Hatred. If he wanted to really do something, he had to think differently, like money. Yes, this is the thing that actually controlled the whole world. The reason behind all of the wars in history was this: money. The reason Hidden Leaf Village was the strongest village, aside from its overabundance of talent, was because the first Hokage, with the help of the second Hokage, was able to sell tailed beasts to other villages at the starting of the village settlement, giving Hidden Leaf Village a huge boost. The reason Hidden Sand Village would place their lives on the line to attack Hidden Leaf Village in the future was because they lacked money. So if power alone was not enough, Kdo would have to shift his goal to something completely different. But money alone will not be enough, Kdo thought. From his knowledge about the world till now, he knew there is no one in the world who holds more money than daimyo and nobles. But whenever a ninja needs money, a noble will inexplicably find himself robbed out of the blue, and even if he somehow finds out who was behind that, he would keep his mouth shut. Money could be earned back, but life couldn't. So just money will not be enough. I will need power as well. But even someone as powerful as Minato and Third Raikage died alone. Just the power of a single person is not enough as well. I need to have a strong backing, a backing that everyone will fear what would happen if they moved against me or my family. With this thought spanning in multiple directions, thinking of various possibilities in the world, it has to be known that even a 3 Tomoe Sharingan increases the mental capacity of its user when they evolve, let alone the Mangekyō Sharingan. Just the level of detail they could provide when utilized correctly for a few seconds is enough to fully destroy a normal mind completely. That's why when Kdo was on Mount Myabaku, not only his body became strengthened but also his mind. With the help of new changes, he was able to think of multiple scenarios in detail like never before. If we have to compare, if some normal person plays chess, they will think of 2 to 3 or max 5 moves ahead with 2 or 3 combinations. Uchiha with 3 Tomoe may think 10 moves ahead with more than 5 to 10 variables and combinations, while a person with Mangekyō Sharingan will think of 20 to 30 moves ahead easily while keeping in mind 30 plus combinations and variables simultaneously, something even a computer would find hard to do. Kdo was utilizing this mental capacity to its full extent, thinking of all possible scenarios in his mind about what may happen in the future if he actually decided to go with the plan he was making. Changing the events in the timeline had mostly made the information he had from his previous life very unreliable, but even that was used to predict possible scenarios. For now, I need to focus on getting initial funds to start something big and work on bringing back an important player back in the game, Kdo thought as he opened his eyes, now completely clear and focused. Many plans and their sequences were forming in his mind, out of which he had chosen the first he had to do now. Since it was already nighttime, he went to his home to take some sleep, because things were about to get chaotic very soon for him. These are the only 2 options we have. Shikaku said in the meeting that was taking place late at night because it took him so long to find out 2 perfect plans for the attack. Either send 150 ninja each to both bases and destroy them completely, with 2 grandmasters deployed, or deploy a team of 30 ninja along with S-rank ninja, like Shizui and Jiraiya. Both of them are borderline madness, but I assume you have a good explanation for it. Hiruzen asked, his hand holding a smoke pipe filled with something much stronger than his usual dose. The amount of work he was doing was really just keeping on increasing day by day, now that he was also handling the dark side of Hidden Leaf Village, which was the role of his friend. He found himself not even having time to breathe. It is pretty simple. Both Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village know we are going to attack them and have planned for it. All of their outposts are filled to the brim with ninja, with an average of 60 ninja in each, some with strategic locations even having more. To target those, we have to do something that is absurd enough to catch them off guard. And I could even think of these 2 methods. One will have enough quantity to destroy the base easily, and the other we have quality to achieve the same even more easily. But what if we lose a Grand Master in this mission? Hiruzen asked. The value of a Fu Injutsu Grand Master was equivalent, if not a little higher, then an S-rank ninja. With a multitude of tasks they could do and their low fighting power, sending them on such a mission was a decision that couldn't be taken lightly. This was the reason Hidden Cloud's village only sent a seal master and fell for the trap twice, as it was a careful trap laid by many Fu and Jutsu grandmasters combined. A seal master had no chance of identifying that. Shikaku, who knew this, understood the value of a Fu and Jutsu grandmaster in such a mission. That's why he had placed them on the list. Our forces got a chance to run away and even kill some of the enemy because they didn't have any Fu and Jutsu grandmaster. If we make the same mistake, it will be the epitome of foolishness. And something happening to a grandmaster in the presence of 5 elite Jonin and 10 Jonin, with multiple special Jonin and Chunin, is almost impossible. And in the worst-case scenarios where the Raikage or Anoki himself moves and appears, we will not be in too bad a situation. Our village has recently got an Uzumaki, none of our grandmasters will be able to match her. It was an extremely cold calculation, thinking of life as just numbers, which every leader in the world had to do. And what about the second option? Hiruzen asked. It is actually something even I think a little too absurd. True, they will be able to place blame on us about our S-rank ninjas chakra traces on the outpost. Shikaku said, a similar reason why 4 ninja in the Hidden Clouds village attack didn't move by themselves and left the work to others. But then a cold smile appeared on Shikaku's face. But we could simply deny that and say it was a completely baseless rumor. Just like we can't start a war, they can't either, since we have to retaliate and show that Hidden Leaf Village is not someone they could attack without a price. This is the best option. Shikaku said. He even remembered the time when Hidden Clouds Village had tried to steal Hidden Leaf Village's Genkai, the Byakugan, and when stopped, threatened to start a war. It was completely absurd, and every ninja in Hidden Leaf Village wanted to retaliate at that time. But since that happened just 2 years after the Nine Tails attack, and Hidden Leaf Village was in no condition to attack at that time, the Hyuga clan had to lose an elite Jonin while Hidden Leaf Village had to bring its head down to keep itself out of war. But that sowed a seed of deep hatred in the hearts of many. Even now, it was the Hyuga clan which came forward to give the most resources, whether money or ninja, for the attack on Hidden Clouds Village's outpost. Now that Hidden Leaf Village was no longer in the same situation as before, it was time to show the world the same. Hiruzen, who understood the feelings behind Shikaku's words, shook his head as he looked toward the Hokage monument. With his eyes still there, he said, "Send order to Kakashi, Shizui, and Jiraiya to come back." Shikaku nodded his head and left, ready to prepare for the event that is about to come next. Chapter 372, Back to Hospital. The mood in Da's house was still somber. He and Yami had gone to Ryota's house, he to offer some help, and Yami to spend time with Ryota's family in their grief. Meanwhile, Naruto was preparing to leave for the academy after making sure his brother was fine. When Naruto first found out that Da was injured, he wanted to be there for him and help. But Da had been away from the village, receiving treatment. By the time Da returned, the situation was so tense that he couldn't find a way to fit himself into it. Instead, he sat quietly, relieved to know his brother was okay now. Yet, the house remained heavy with sadness, a sadness that stemmed from the loss of big brother Ryota, who had died saving his big sister. Naruto couldn't stop thinking about how weak he felt. If even someone as strong as big brother Ryota couldn't survive, how could he? Would he ever be strong enough to protect the people he cared about if the need arose? These thoughts weighed heavily on the small boy, not much older than 4 years. Despite he and Yami's best efforts to hide their grief in front of him, it didn't change the atmosphere much. Naruto was young, not dumb. He could see through their forced smiles and kind words. He was starting to think for himself now. Da, on the other hand, hadn't given much thought to hiding the truth from Naruto. At first, he had been too occupied to think clearly, and now it was too late. When Da noticed Naruto sitting with a serious expression, lost in his thoughts, he sighed and walked over to him. Placing a hand on his brother's head, he ruffled his hair gently. "You don't have to worry about such things right now," Da said, his voice soft but firm. "Just focus on your studies and your friends. Leave the complex stuff to us adults, okay?" Naruto gave a small nod, though his eyes still reflected the weight of his thoughts. Da watched as Naruto left for the academy. He's too young to carry such burdens, Da thought, shaking his head. But this world doesn't give anyone the luxury of staying innocent forever. Turning back to the house, Da noticed Kenta exercising on his own. Kiba and Kenta had become friends when they were introduced to each other, but the death of a close friend had been a significant turning point for Kenta as well. Now, he wanted to be strong enough to protect those he held dear. Watching him train so diligently, Da couldn't help but smile. Everyone is moving on, he thought. We're all trying to make sure we don't lose anyone else. With these thoughts in his mind, He also went out to make sure he would never lose someone important to him ever again. What are you doing here? I know what happened to your friend. You can take some more rest if you want, we can manage on our own for now. Mitsuru said to the boy standing in front of her. He was gone for just 2 to 3 weeks, but for some reason, he looked different than the disciple she remembered. With height increased and body becoming much more fit, gaining more muscles while still looking lean, his facial features becoming more sharp as well, like he had gone through some body modification. But the thing that worried her more was the news she got about Kda. Losing a friend in front of oneself is never easy. Being a medical ninja, she had taken part in many missions herself and was part of the Third Great Ninja War too. She couldn't even begin to describe the feeling of losing a friend in front of you when you knew you could have saved him if the timing was just a little right, if he was brought to you a little earlier, if. Don't worry, sensei. I am fine now. If I remain idle, I will just think about that time only, so I wanted to busy myself with work. Kda said, releasing a soft smile. Fine, do as you wish. Mitsuru sighed and gave her permission. Thank you, sensei. Kda said and left the office, creating a shadow clone which went to the library to study about a particularly tricky disease while he went to look for any particular case that needed a hand, making his way toward the administrative department. Hello, are there any pending cases or vacant ones? I am free for now and could take 1 or 2 myself if there are any. Kda said to a nurse sitting at the reception desk. He didn't specify his name and rank because he was already quite famous in the hospital for handling a massive workload alone for 2 months straight. The nurse looked toward Kda and then toward the file in front of her. With her hands moving fast, she compiled a list of cases that were either still vacant or the medical ninja who would take those cases already had more than he could handle. In a minute, Kda had a list with more than 40 patients. If you complete them, come back. I will arrange more for you. The nurse, who was almost the same age as he, said with a smile. The hospital had long stopped underestimating the boy who was not even a teen yet, with many thinking of the possibilities of him taking Tsunoda's place when he grows up. The idea of an Uchiha taking the place of the Senju princess was as absurd as it could get, but seeing the boy's performance, many couldn't help but think about the possibility. Kda nodded his head. With the list in his hand, he sent a shadow clone to his office after giving a copy to the receptionist to send those patients to him while he went to the patients who needed immediate attention or surgery. For the next few hours, Kda was busy, with his clone going through all records present about a particular disease or anything similar to it, while searching for the files of patients with similar cases and how they were treated. Multiple clones went through many files multiple times, taking notes and finding other doctors who were taking some rest as Kda took their cases for pointers. This process continued for 3 whole days, with Kda having talked with each and every doctor who was ever part of any such case related to the disease, finding out everything that could go wrong and what could be done to protect against it. After 3 days, Kda's clone went to the Hokage building to check for any missions related to Rogue Ninja, which was very easy to find since most of them were like that. The clone took a mission from the board. Do I have to capture him alive? No, if we can find out the info required from just his body, so you can take any action on the mission and don't have to take any unnecessary risk. The ninja in charge of distributing missions replied, completely misunderstanding why Kda was asking that. The clone nodded, though, and disappeared from his position in the next second. Within 2 hours, a ninja was lying in front of Kda in the hospital, while his clone continued to take care of the patients. He started the task he had been preparing so hard for in the past 3 days, operating on the chakra network, one of the most crucial and delicate operations possible. If it had to be compared, it was 3 to 4 times more difficult than neurosurgery. The worst thing about it was that it couldn't be practiced on dead people, as they lose their chakra network. So the only other option was a person who was going to die anyway. At least this way, he could use his life for something good one last time, though it didn't make using a live person for practice any better. Kda had long since lost such strict moral values. Now he had morals, but they were much more practical than the superficial ones he had when he came to this world. Chapter 373, Half Success. The rogue ninja lying in front of Kda was feeling terror, as would any being who thought they wouldn't be tortured for secrets in Hidden Leaf Village, but later found themselves on the table of an unknown doctor who was, for some reason, preparing for operation. He was shuddering, shivering at the thought of what was about to happen next, but then his attention was drawn to the doctor in front of him. Those merchants you ordered your bandits to loot and kill also felt the same fear when, even after giving all their belongings to you, they were still killed. Those villagers you terrorized for food and shelter also felt fear like that. Now, how are you feeling to be on the receiving end of that fear? The bandit wanted to speak, wanted to plead that he would never do it again, but his mouth was sealed with tape and he couldn't make even the slightest sound. Don't worry, I am not some messiah of justice. I also want to use you like you used them, just not for my pleasure but for something important. But in a sense, we both are the same. The doctor turned to face the bandit, who was now cursing his luck forever leaving his village to live like a king among normal people. But those thoughts halted when he looked toward the doctor in front of him, his red eyes glowing with a beautiful pattern in them, a pattern of spiraling flower which, on closer look, appeared like spiraling circular blades. Before he could fully appreciate the beauty of those eyes, he found himself in an unknown location, where fire surrounded him, ready to burn him to ash. He quickly used his chakra to save himself from the burn, which actually worked and stopped the burning sensation, but the moment he lowered his chakra even by a little amount, the sensation returned. While the bandit was working hard to save his life, his eyes stopped spinning. Even though we both are the same, I am not going to kill anyone senselessly unless required, so don't worry. I will try my best to make sure you survive this, though I can't say whether that's good for you or not. Da said, but the bandit couldn't hear it since he was busy saving his life in some hell-like place. Da, seemingly unperturbed by this, removed the shirt of the bandit. With precision that would put machines to shame, he wiped off the body, leaving no dust or hair behind. Now the body in front of him was ready for the operation. Da took out a pen, and his Mangekyō Sharingan worked a little harder, showing the exact pathway of the chakra in the body, something that only Byakugan could do. Even 3 Tomoe Sharingan could just see the outline of chakra in the body when a technique or jutsu was used, but Mangekyō was different, almost achieving the perfect form of dojutsu of gods. With precision, Da drew the pathway on the surface of the body using medical ink for reference. Then he followed his notes to mark out the areas where the pathway had to be operated on for the patients. Normally when the ninja is at 4th stage, the most damage is done to the area near the heart and solar plexus, both being the most delicate areas. That's why someone at Tsunada's level was best to operate for a 99% chance of success. To mark those locations on the ninja's body, his mind becoming completely clear. For the next step, the chakra pathway had to be targeted last. First, the area near the infected joints had to be operated on and cleared of any infection. To cut open the ninja's body, which didn't even make him flinch because of the anesthetics that reduced pain, and the rest was handled by the ganjutsu he was under, reducing the brain's pain-sensing capacity. In the next few minutes, Da operated on the area near the marked locations, removing small portions of flesh from around the chakra pathway, which was healthy for bandits but would be infected and slightly dark in ninjas suffering from chakritis. After operating on the areas, Da closed the ninja's body and used an advanced version of the healing palm jutsu to close the wounds. Normally, it's recommended to let the body heal itself with minimal treatment to avoid strain, but in this case, it had to be healed quickly before the infection spread again. After just a few minutes, the ninja was as good as new, with no signs of the operation remaining. Now came the main part of the operation. The chakra in Da's body started moving in specific pathways, and his hands began forming one hand sign after another. In the next second, his hand was covered in blue chakra, with only his fingers pointing out, a blade as small as a needle's point formed, an advanced application of the chakra scalpel jutsu. With his hand moving slowly and precisely, he methodically cut a single chakra vein at 2 points and removed it using chakra while using his own chakra as a medium for chakra to travel, an absurdly insane task that was the epitome of chakra control testing. Even with the help of Mangekyō Sharingan, which normally provided a huge boost to his already high chakra control, Da was struggling with the task. That's why this operation was normally performed with the help of many chief medical ninja. After removing one vein, he brought the 2 ends together, stretching them slightly before joining them. He repeated this task multiple times until all the veins near the heart's tenketsu point were completely new. The only remaining task was to completely purify the tenketsu point, which was relatively easy as he just had to revolve his yang chakra in that point multiple times, and then the operation was complete. It could be considered a success since the ninja could still use chakra, even though he would feel some strain for a while. Was it perfect? Not by any chance. The amount and level of stretching the chakra veins had undergone was more than necessary, and his speed wasn't fast enough, causing small bumps to be visible on the veins. Normally there would be no problem, but when using advanced jutsu, the ninja would feel the effects, facing delays of a few milliseconds, which could be detrimental in large-scale battles. Still, for a first operation, it was a success. Since Da was done with him, he turned to the clone who had been taking notes and reading from start to end. The clone understood what to do and quickly took the ninja to the Hokage building while Da went through the notes, adding points on how to improve further. While the ninja was being transported to the Hokage building where captured ninja had to be transferred, the clone said, "Please don't make him use any chakra for a few days. He just went through surgery and will face irreversible damage if he uses any chakra." By now the captured ninja was out of the Ganjutsu and thanking God to be still alive with all his limbs and organs intact, only to feel dread once again when he found himself in Hidden Leaf Village as T&I department. For the first time, that department received such an absurd request from a ninja delivering a captive, also a captive so cooperative they had to bring in a Yamanaka to read his memories to ensure he wasn't planning something bigger. They didn't know that the bandit was now thinking of leaving everything behind and becoming a normal farmer, if he could survive this whole scenario. Chapter 374, Human Experimentation? Even though the situation was absurd, the T&I department chalked it up to a unique case and moved forward. They didn't know what was about to happen next. D's clone, who had submitted the paperwork for completion of the mission, went to take another assignment. Within the next hour, another ninja was lying in front of D in the hospital, going through the same thought process as the previous ninja, praying to all the gods to save him. But D was oblivious to all this, as the tape on the ninja's face prevented them from uttering a single sound, let alone a plea. This operation was better than the previous one. D once again noted the findings, and the process repeated. He completed all other operations while the clone went to take and complete missions, sending ninjas to the T&I department before bringing another. More of his clones were constantly treating other patients. Days passed like this, and at the end of the week, Ibiki finally had enough. D's clone had brought almost 20 ninjas to the department, all having a memory of a doctor preparing for surgery before they went to some place similar to hell, which he knew was Ganjutsu, and a particularly powerful one at that. After this experience, all those ninjas became the most noble people possible. Ibiki knew the reason behind it, as the time before torture was the real torture for a person. Being the head of the department, he knew this fairly well. But what was bugging his mind was the news about the doctor. Since D was fairly well known as a doctor due to his recent 2+ months of work at the hospital, he could guess who the doctor was in those memories. Hidden Leaf Village had a history of losing talented ninjas who went astray in their experiments, finally using Hidden Leaf Village ninja as subjects. Not wanting to take any risks, even though he had checked the ninja himself for any changes, he decided to report it to the Hokage who could handle things from then on. Human experimentation? Hiruzen asked, his brow rising. It is just speculation, Lord Third, but there is a chance. That's why I decided to report it, though I don't think it is anything significant as he himself brought those ninja to our department even though he could have easily killed them without any suspicion, as it was allowed in the mission. Ibiki said, trying to clearly explain that he wasn't accusing an Uchiha of anything and it was just speculation. I understand. I will handle this from now on. Don't share anything about this with others. Hiruzen said, though he didn't emphasize keeping it secret, especially since the person in front of him was the last person in the world who would indulge in mindless gossip. Ibiki nodded his head, bowed one last time before leaving the office. Human experimentation, huh? Hiruzen thought, his eyes looking in the direction of the Hidden Leaf Village hospital. Without a word or movement, a shadow clone appeared near him and went toward the hospital. After his earlier experience, he himself was a little sensitive toward all this and didn't want to take any risks, even though he knew there was very little chance of this being true. The hospital in Hidden Leaf Village was as busy as it could get, now with an unexpected visitor. The receptionist at the front nearly jumped up to greet him. Good morning, Lord Third. Good morning, please continue your task. I have some work here, so I will intrude a little. Hiruzen's clone said with a grandfatherly smile. Then let me accompany you, sir. I will try my best to help you. The receptionist said, trying to impress the almost king of Hidden Leaf Village. No need. I don't want to increase your already huge workload. Please continue your work. Hiruzen said as he made his way toward Mitsuru's office. The receptionist was left behind, unable to go against the Hokage's order, no matter how politely it was phrased. While the receptionist was brooding, Hiruzen's shadow clone made his way toward Mitsuru's office. Knock knock, come in. Mitsuru said, keeping her eyes on the papers as she thought it was some nurse there to get her signature for an operation. As hardworking as always. That's why I want to appoint you as the temporary head of the hospital in Tsunoda's absence. Hiruzen's clone said. Good morning, Lord Third, and I have to politely decline once again, as I don't think I am worthy enough to take Lady Tsunoda's seat even if it is for a temporary time period. Mitsuru, who already had her hands full with the workload of Chief Medical Ninja, declined Hiruzen's offer for the nth time, the same offer others would jump to get but weren't worthy enough to receive. Hiruzen's clone could only shake his head at that. I assume you have something else, other than trying to forcefully promote me, Lord Third? Mitsuru asked, closing the files in front of her and standing up. Yes, I have gotten some interesting news about your disciple and wanted to meet him myself. Do you know what he is doing nowadays? Hiruzen's clone asked. He said he wanted to keep his mind away from all of the things that happened to him recently, so I allowed him to take back his role here, and he has been doing really well. Though not at the same level as before, he is still doing the work of 10 medical ninja all by himself. Though I don't know full details about him for now, as you can see I am busy as well, since the hospital is not getting enough funds to hire or train more medical ninjas. Mitsuru replied with a slightly accusatory tone, which just slipped through the thick skin of Hiruzen, not even paying attention to that. Since you also don't know about what your student is doing, let's go and check it out. Hiruzen said. Mitsuru could only sigh at that, as she knew she would not get anywhere pursuing this matter further, and Hiruzen was not going to increase the funding no matter what. So she simply followed his command and went toward her disciple's office, which was just next to hers. As she and Hiruzen went near the door, they both felt a concentration of seals inside the room, which were working to conceal themselves as well as whatever was happening inside. Hiruzen felt his body tense up, with a feeling of sadness trying to rise as he thought something he didn't want was really happening inside. With a heavy heart, he nodded his head and Mitsuru opened the door, and the scene inside the room really surprised them to their core. All of the office from ground floor, walls to roof was covered with loads and loads of notes, while a ninja was lying unconscious on the table. Being a Jonin rank, he was the hardest to catch alive and had to be rendered unconscious before he was brought here, which happened just a few minutes before. De was focused on the enormous number of books in front of him, looking like a college student studying for days without sleep for finals. What the hell are you doing? Mitsuru was the first one to ask the question going through the minds of both of them. Chapter 375, Jonin in the room. What the hell are you doing? Mitsuru was the first one to ask the question going through the minds of both of them. De, who was so focused that he hadn't even paid attention to his surroundings, kept making notes about how he would proceed with the next operation. When he heard Mitsuru's voice, he was brought out of his flow-like state. Sensei, Lord Third, I am sorry I was busy with something. De said, standing up to greet them. No problem, De, but can I ask what you are doing so extensively? Seeing a Hidden Clouds Village Jonin on your table like that is a little confusing. Hiruzen said. His heart was still a little worried, but from seeing De's reaction, which was not like a thief caught in the act, he knew that even if De was doing something illegal, it was not intentional but just an honest mistake. Mitsuru had similar thoughts. I have been researching about the disease Shakurtis, Lord Third. One of my friends is suffering from this disease, so I wanted to see if I could do anything about it. De said, keeping his reply straight, not hiding anything as there was no need for it in the first place. Both Mitsuru and Hiruzen understood that De was talking about Itachi and appreciated the sentiment of helping a friend in need, but that still didn't explain the Jonin in the room. Seeing the eyes of both Mitsuru and Hiruzen heading toward the Jonin, De understood what they wanted to hear, so he continued. From my research, I found out that the medicine from Howling Wolf Village will make all of the chakra veins in the patient's body very loose, which in turn helps during the operation, increasing the chances of success. But that leads to another problem. De said, taking out a plethora of papers from the stack and placing them on the table one by one. Hiruzen and Mitsuru went through each of them slowly, wondering about the various notes and reports De had gotten his hands on. The ninja will have a very bad chakra network inside their body after the surgery and will need at least 6 months to get back in shape. Even then, they will have to relearn many things from scratch because the chakra network required for a jutsu is not the same as before. De said, presenting the reports of previous patients who went through similar surgery. At this point, Mitsuru was really impressed by all of the research De had presented. From this, De knew about this disease as much as she did, if not more, which was impressive considering she was among the best medical ninja in Hidden Leaf Village, if not the top in Tsunoda's absence. So they will have to waste 1 year of their life, but I don't think it is a big problem since they will be able to keep their lives, right? Hiruzen asked, wanting to see how deeply De had researched. By now, his earlier worries were all but gone. De nodded, then took out the list of patients who had this disease. It would be, but we are not thinking about one important part here. All of the people who get this disease are talented beyond measure, almost certain to be S rank. If they have to waste 1 year of their prime time, it would be detrimental to their future, and for sure they will not be able to reach their full potential. A slight smile came to Hiruzen's face because this was the same question his student had raised once, but she couldn't find any answer at that time. She was not the Tsunoda then, but a beginner who was just starting to learn medical jutsu, and the person got treated before she could do anything. Considering how rare this disease was, there was no need to bring this discussion up again, until now that is. That's why Hiruzen was able to see Tsunoda in place of De for a second before smiling slightly and continuing the discussion. Then what do you suggest we should do? Hiruzen asked. When it was said Hiruzen knew every jutsu in Hidden Leaf Village aside from the Flying Thunder God jutsu, it was not a lie in the slightest, he truly knew every jutsu, medical jutsu included. Since the problem is just in these 2 areas, why are we altering the whole chakra network of the patient? We can just operate this. De then started going through an extensive procedure, which was taxing just to discuss, let alone apply. This is possible, but the chance of things going wrong is very high in such an operation. Our worry about the ninja not achieving their full potential may shift to them dying or not being able to use chakra in their life. Mitsuru said, shaking her head just thinking about how difficult this whole operation would be. De just smiled at that and presented a file to Mitsuru about his previous 20 trials, all of them being successes with proficiency increasing every time. After reading the file, she gave it to Hiruzen, who was also shocked about the findings. You did all those operations alone? Mitsuru asked in shock, at which De nodded his head with a smile, getting a sigh from both Hiruzen and Mitsuru. I can see that the last 3 operations were almost perfect, then why is an actual ninja of Hidden Clouds Village in your office? Hiruzen asked the next question going through his mind. Because all of that operation data was of Chunin level, and Itachi has above Jonin level chakra. I wanted to be sure before presenting this idea. De replied like he did nothing wrong. Hiruzen could only sigh at that since finding a Jonin level ninja as a bandit is almost impossible unless the enemy village actively plants them. But capturing an enemy Jonin like this, Hiruzen could only sigh at that, but considering the relations between these two villages at this point, there was nothing wrong he could point out. What are you going to do with him after that? Mitsuru asked. The village is planning something, and his memory will be important for that, so I will do the same thing I did to the other 20 ninjas. De said. Mitsuru didn't know about the village plan, but Hiruzen knew. It was true that these memories might get them some additional points in their plan to attack 2 outposts of Hidden Stones Village and Hidden Clouds Village. Since you have everything planned, I don't have any problem with this. Just make sure you don't do anything like this again, or be noticed by someone if you do. I don't want a brute wanting explanations about my ninja. Hiruzen said, which De replied to with a smile. So you are going to do the last test on him? With all formalities out, Hiruzen asked the question he was curious about, because even he was not confident about performing the operation De had specified. Though he was not a genius in the field, he could be considered at a level above Specialist Medical Ninja, just below Chief Medical Ninja. Mitsuru had the same thought of wanting to see the operation herself. Yes, I was about to proceed. If both of you could spare a few moments to guide and point out some of my mistakes, I would be extremely grateful. De said, understanding their thoughts. Sure, I have all the time in the world for a child like you. Hiruzen said, liking the respect the boy provided to him, while Mitsuru also nodded her head. De smiled and then went toward the sleeping beauty in the room, who was about to get the shock of his life when he woke up. Chapter 376, Possible Future. Masaru was a normal Jonin from Hidden Clouds Village, leader of a border patrol squad. Still in the prime of his life, he could consider his life a success. Even the area he patrolled was relatively safe, so he was a little lax and went a little away from his squad to complete his morning routine, which soon became the worst mistake of his life. Just when he was about to pull his pants up after doing the deed, someone attacked him from behind, targeting his neck, most likely to make him unconscious, because there were better ways to kill him than using simple hands. Using his experience, he was able to dodge the attack at the cost of his dignity and pants, which were now unusable. Who are you? Masaru asked. Even though his tone was threatening, his half-naked form didn't help maintain the threat at all, but Masaru was not affected by it. What would he do with dignity if he didn't have his life? But no reply came from the enemy, who was wearing a complete black dress, almost looking like a shadow. Before he could say anything more, he fell under a Ganjutsu. How did he know he fell under a Ganjutsu? Well, if fish climbing trees was a good enough reason for him to believe so. But before he could disperse his chakra, an impact on the back of his neck made him unconscious for good. The next thing he knew, he was in some kind of hospital with his hands and legs tied and mouth closed. He looked around, only to find a ninja who was pretty famous in Hidden Clouds Village after his latest performance in the Chunin exam. This in itself would have been trouble if he was not wearing doctor's clothes, with a blade in his hand. Masaru turned to see a chance to run, only to find the Hokage of Hidden Lee Village himself sitting in the room, looking toward him like he was some exotic animal, accompanied by a beautiful-looking lady who had the same look in her eyes. Seeing this, he felt his whole life flash through his eyes, with numerous possibilities coming to his mind, each more absurd than the other. In one, Hidden Lee Village was doing some business of ninja organ trafficking. In another, he was being transformed into a human bomb who would do extensive damage to his village. If any of the 3 people could hear his thoughts, they might even consider some of them with how good they were. But before he could reach any conclusion, the doctor coughed. He looked toward him only to find 2 red glowing eyes with beautiful patterns in them, but just like those before him, he couldn't enjoy the look for too long either, transported to a fiery hell himself. It had to be considered that even a normal 3 Tomoe-wielding Uchiha was to be considered a foe not to fight alone even for a Jonin because they would fall for Uchiha's Ganjutsu. So if a Jonin who could even fall in Ganjutsu with 3 Tomoe Sharingan falls under Ganjutsu with the help of full power of Sharingan, then there is utterly no chance for him to come out of it on his own. In front of the shocked eyes of Hiruzen and Mitsuru, they easily operated on the Jonin. With the effect of numerous anesthetics, there was no pain in the process at all, with Kda moving precisely and skillfully, easily operating the area around heart and solar plexus in a matter of minutes. Hiruzen and Mitsuru left their eyes open because the ninja in front of them was doing the work of 3 specialist medical ninja alone, without the help of a single shadow clone, all by himself. Normally such surgery would be led by a specialist with the help of a team of other medical ninja for support. But Kda was doing all that alone, and that was not the surprising part yet, as the effect of surgery disappeared at a shocking pace. Kda was now ready for the second part of the surgery, once again his eyes shining red, as he marked the chakra network of the ninja on their body, with the possible infected parts being drawn by red pen. Even though he didn't need such thing in real cases as he could see the chakra flow himself, for a ninja who is perfectly fine he had to point out which parts he had to operate. After completing the preparation, he made a series of hand signs and once again the same glow which appeared in previous 20 operations appeared on his hand but this time even more thin and sharp. Is that? Yes, it is chakra scalpel, but somehow he is maintaining it at extreme thinness. Even I can't do that for now, and doubt even Tsunade would be able to. Hiruzen answered, but he was also equally shocked at the scene. And the jutsu which would need immense concentration just to maintain was used in front of them like it was the normal scalpel used in hospitals. With precision that would put machines to shame, Kda slowly dissected the chakra veins and then used his own chakra to maintain the passage all by himself. If his earlier work was hard, now it was insane which he was doing without any problem at all, well not anything they could tell, but he was using his Sharingan to maintain the extreme fineness and control required, even forgetting about the 2 people in the room. All of his concentration was on the operation. The amount of chakra he used on the single operation was enough to put 5 Jonins in chakra depleted state easily, but for his chakra reserve it was not even 5% though the strain was real. As soon as the operation was completed, he sat down panting while making a shadow clone to make the final notes for his experimentation, and to his delight everything was perfect in the last operation. Even though there was a little stretch in the chakra network of the Jonin, it was nothing a few weeks of medicine and rest couldn't fix. Mitsuru and Hiruzen came out of their shock after Kda created his shadow clone, and went to check the results themselves too, delighted to see that there was no problem with the procedure at all. Their faces gained a deep smile, not because of a particularly successful and new procedure to treat an ultra-rare disease, but at the emergence of a new S-rank medical ninja of Hidden Leaf Village. It was different from gaining another S-rank physical fighter, because with good medical ninja an injured ninja could be healed and fight again multiple times, as shown by Tsunade. With her and another S-rank medical ninja, Hidden Leaf Village would become an immortal enemy to its enemies. Just thinking about it was increasing the smile on Hiruzen's face, while Mitsuru was just genuinely happy about her student's progress, who may have even left her behind in some parts. Good job, Kda. With this, we can treat Itachi in no time. Mitsuru said, her hand glowing green as she scanned the body of the Jonin laying in front of her, her eyes twinkling. About that sensei, I will need your help with. Chapter 377, Full responsibility about that sensei, I will need your help with something. Kda said with an awkward smile on his face. What is it? Mitsuru asked. Seeing Kda doing everything alone, she felt like she had neglected her student because of extra work, so she was happy when Kda asked for help. You really want my help for this? Mitsuru asked, standing in front of the Uchiha headquarters. Since it was almost afternoon, this was the only place they would find the clan leader of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku Uchiha. Unfortunately, I am still a child, sensei. No sensible person will put their child's life at risk on the words of a child, but you are the chief medical ninja of Hidden Leaf Village, almost head. Your words will have much more weight and credibility than mine. Kda said. Sigh. Maybe this is the loss of having a genius disciple, there is not much to teach them at all. Mitsuru said. Thanks for the compliment, sensei. Kda replied with a smile. After finishing their talks, they finally entered the headquarters. Hiruzen had taken his leave since he had no role here. Sir, Mitsuru-sama and Uchiha are here. They want to have a meeting with you regarding Itachi. Send them in. Fugaku closed the file while his secretary was speaking. Without even letting him complete his sentence, he gave his order. As a father whose child's life was in danger, 50% of his thoughts in the day were filled with concerns about his son. So even though he was going to have a meeting with the merchants responsible for all of the sales related to the Uchiha clan, He didn't think twice before canceling that and letting the two figures sitting in front of him take his time. Did something happen? Fugaku asked, getting straight to the point. Fugaku-sama, I will let the explain about the treatment we are going to follow with Itachi before we proceed further. Mitsuru said, sitting relaxingly on her chair while holding a cup of tea in her hands. Fugaku turned to Kida for further explanation. Uncle, as you know, the main problem with Itachi is his infected chakra pathway. At his stage, they will only affect these two areas, so what we initially planned to do was... Kida started explaining everything from the beginning to Fugaku about how they would normally treat Shakuras disease, how it would affect the potential of the ninja, and all. I assume you are not just telling me this to scare me and have some alternative as well? Fugaku, being the sharp-minded person, was able to guess this much. That's why we are here, Fugaku-sama. I was just planning on going with this method because even if Itachi may not be able to achieve his full potential because of this, he will be alive and from his talent still above elite Jonin level. But this boy was not satisfied with that and had done something surprising. Mitsuru said, giving Kida a look to continue. So rather than waiting for 6 months and damaging his chakra pathway structure as well, we can just operate now. Kida said, presenting a file to Fugaku about his recent operations. I have performed them on perfectly fine ninja who had not taken those medicines at all, and the results were more than satisfactory, without a single failure. How sure are you about the success of the operation if we follow this way? Fugaku asked, not to Kida but to Mitsuru. First of all, this boy here did all those operations alone, so even if he did all of the procedures of your son's operation by himself, the chance will still be above 90%. If we get a team to help him, 99%. Mitsuru said, still maintaining her relaxed posture while sipping her tea leisurely. Sigh. A long sigh came out of Fugaku's mouth. After a long pause, his eyes became serious. I will hold you accountable if anything happens during the operation. Once again his target was Mitsuru rather than Kida. But there was no change in Mitsuru's expression because of that. She placed her tea on the table, sat straight, looking directly into Fugaku's eyes. I am taking full responsibility for this, she said, at which Fugaku finally relaxed. So when do we have to start the procedure? As soon as possible, Kida said. That is tomorrow. We need time to prepare for the operation. We can't operate on him like you were doing, and the team will also need some time to prepare for the operation mentally. Mitsuru chimed in, because Kida's tone was like he wanted to start in 1 hour only. Fine, I will tell Itachi about this. We will come to the hospital tomorrow, Fugaku said. Then we will take our leave, we have much to prepare. Mitsuru said and stood up from her chair, followed by Kida. Kida, stay for a minute. I have something I want to discuss with you, Fugaku said. Yes, uncle, Kida said while Mitsuru looked back, then left, having no interest in the following conversation. Thank you for doing so much for my son, Fugaku said. He could easily see that all of the reports were prepared by Kida alone, and to compile this concise report, an enormous amount of research had to be done. No problem, uncle. I did it because I am his friend and brother as well, there is no need to thank me, Kida said with a big smile. No, there is, and I don't know how I can repay you for saving my son, but if you have anything you want, just tell me, Fugaku said, this time really wanting to do something for Kida. Uncle, I don't want anything. For now, but in the future, there will be a time when I will need your help. Please listen to my request at that time, Kida said with a soft smile on his face. These types of requests are most critical for a person, especially if they have the role of clan head and S-rank strength, but Fugaku knew Kida would not ask anything absurd from him. Unless it is something very absurd, I will agree to any of your requests. Thank you, uncle, Kida said, bowing a little. Then he remembered something. Uncle, I forgot to tell you this, but I have awakened Mangekyō Sharingan recently too. I know, Kida. I would have congratulated you for it if not for the absurd condition you awakened it, Fugaku said in a somber tone. I am fine now, uncle, so please don't worry, Kida said, once again giving a soft smile, but this was the reason Fugaku had said those lines. He could see through the smile of Kida, the pain he was trying to suppress was peeking out a little from his smile. Then I will take my leave too, uncle. I should be in peak condition for tomorrow. Kida also took his leave, leaving behind Fugaku alone in his office. Maybe my clan is truly cursed, to gain power after losing someone so close to us. Sigh Naruto, I think this much is enough for us. I can't run anymore. If I keep going, all my hard work of eating and getting bigger will be wasted. Choji huffed and puffed, struggling after just one lap around the training ground. Come on, Choji. If you can't even run, how will you get strong? We have to train, or how else will we protect the people we care about? Naruto pouted, his enthusiasm dimming a little. Ugh. I get that you want to train, but why do we have to do it too? Shikamaru grumbled, already sitting down after barely running half a lap. I'm just gonna stay in the village my whole life with my family anyway. Naruto crossed his arms and frowned. Because you're gonna be a ninja. I need you to be strong enough to at least hold on until I come save you. I'm not losing any more friends, ever. He struck a heroic pose, full of determination. Shikamaru sighed. What a drag. But he still got up, stretching lazily before starting to jog again. Well, what are you waiting for, Choji? Start running, or I'll have to come save you too. He called over his shoulder. Naruto grinned wide, his energy coming back in full force. Yeah. Let's go. He dashed forward at full speed, already on his third lap. While someone else looked toward him only shaking his head, and then continuing training alone. Chapter 378, Friends welcome back Kda, you are early today? He said, opening the door for Kda. Yes Aunt, tomorrow we are going to have an important operation. Of Itachi, so I want to be in perfect shape for tomorrow. Kda said, entering the house. Where is Naruto? He asked, because Naruto would usually come to greet him as soon as he came back, and since today was a holiday from the academy, he should be at home. He went out to train with his friends, maybe he is learning too much from his brothers. He said with a chuckle. It was too cute to see the resolute expression of a 5-year-old boy. Haha, I will go and check out what type of training he is doing. Kda said. At least have some water first. He said. It is already lunchtime Aunt, I will bring him back for lunch. Kda said, already leaving the house. But he took his lunchbox with him. He could only say to herself as Kda was already gone. He didn't have to search for Naruto because he knew Naruto would be in the academy grounds only. A group of middle-aged men were making their way toward their house, still in their genin vests, as they had just returned from their mission. Being civilian ninja, becoming Chunin was not easy for them, so they accepted their fate as genin, taking small missions every week to pay for their bills while being part of Hidden Lee Village Genin Corps. Since they had just earned quite an amount escorting a wealthy merchant with their Chunin leader, they had celebrated a little and were a little disoriented. Coincidentally, they had to pass through the academy. Come on, I can still run 10 more rounds and you guys are already tired. A voice came from the ground next to the academy. Hey, isn't that the voice of that Kibai brat? Genta, don't do anything funny. I heard that he now lives with some Uchiha family. Hey, why would those arrogant asses care about him? I will just go and say hi to him, after all, it has been so long. Genta, a burly-looking genin with a scar on his face, said. Because of that scar, he had an inferiority complex and always took it out on people who were weaker than him, and in a ninja village, it mostly came down to orphan children, Naruto being his prime target. His other teammates could only shake their heads at that. Even though they didn't care much about it, now that the Uchiha clan was behind the boy, they didn't want to involve themselves with this, so they maintained their distance while Genta made his way toward the ground. Hey brat. Genta said as he entered the ground. Naruto froze in his tracks, looking toward him. Hey, where are your manners? Didn't I tell you to greet your elders with respect every time you meet them? Looks like I have to teach you all of that again. Slap, did I ask you to speak? Never interrupt your elders. Hey, leave him. Shikamaru said, coming toward them, followed by Choji. Keep your bratty nose out of this, brats. Genta said, but then he saw their eyes going toward his side. Before he could turn to see, he felt someone grabbing his hand. Crunch, the hand he was using to grab Naruto's collar broke, after which his brain couldn't focus on anything other than the pain coming from his hand. Ah! A shout reverberated through the whole academy ground. Big brother. Naruto looked up, directly into the eyes of Kda. Why were you scared? Didn't I tell you when we met, we are family from now on, and family protects each other? So don't fear anyone from now on, you have 2 brothers to protect you. He said, ruffling Naruto's hair with his other hand, which was not making bones of a person's hand into powder. Naruto nodded his head, hugging Kda's legs tightly, which for some reason increased the sound of shouts coming from Genta's mouth. Genta's teammates who were outside rushed there to see what happened. Even though they didn't want to take part in the bullying, they still couldn't leave their friend behind. Come close, and you guys will not be able to walk ever again. Kda turned toward them, his eyes glowing red with 3 tomoe rotating in them. Seeing the scene on the ground, Genta's teammates froze in their place, but they were not the only ones. Shikamaru and Choji were also standing in their place, looking toward Kda in shock. Naruto, after a second, tugged Kda's pants. Brother, please let him go. As you wish. Your friends are a little shocked there, go and talk to them. I will take him to the hospital. Kda said. Naruto nodded and went to Shikamaru and Choji. After he left, Kda picked Genta up, looked directly in his eyes, and at that moment, Genta fell into multiple Ganjutsu, each one ending with his death, every one more painful and brutal than before. By the time it ended, he was barely hanging onto his mentality. The had specially made sure that he didn't become mental. Listen, you piece of shit, if I ever see you near my brother ever again, I will directly kill you, without a second thought. Now take this and go to the hospital. Don't make a single sound on the whole path, okay? There was a constant smile maintained on Kda's face, which seemed peaceful to anyone else but Genta, who thought the devil himself was looking into his eyes. He could only nod his head meekly and run away from there. His friends waited at the entrance the whole time, not even putting a foot inside, then taking him to the hospital from the outside. Thank you for helping my brother, Kda said, going toward the trio. We didn't do anything though, Choji said. Nope, you tried to help him even though he was stronger than you. You guys could have easily run away, but you stayed and even tried to help him. I am happy that my brother has such good friends, Kda said. Knowing from anime and seeing it in real life were two different things. Getting the compliment, two of them became shy while Naruto nodded his head, affirming that he really had good friends. So have you guys eaten anything? Kda asked. No, we brought our lunch. We were going to have a picnic. Will you join us, brother? Naruto asked. I would love to, but I should also bring something, right? Wait a minute. Kda said and made a shadow clone, which went to a nearby restaurant to buy all of the special snacks available, while he remained in the ground. You can also join us if you want, Sasuke, Kda said. When Genta came to the ground and slapped Naruto, there were 3 people who ran to save him, 2 of his friends, Shikamaru and Choji, and the third person was none other than Sasuke, who for some reason was also training in the academy ground while looking toward the 3 of them from time to time. I was just going home, he said, coming out. You were also practicing, Sasuke? Naruto asked, shocked to see him there. Great. You can also bring lunch, Choji added with a smile. I don't want to have a picnic with you. I will have one with my brother, Sasuke said, and he ran back to the Uchiha compound. What's his deal? Choji said. Who knows? Shikamaru said, shrugging his shoulders, while Kda just smiled. When Genta and team reached the hospital, they had to report what happened to them, as the village normally took note of every skirmish between ninja which resulted in hospitalization as it could lead to big problems during war. After Genta's teammates told the nurse about what Genta did, and what Kda did to him, the nurse nodded, and after some time, some doctors entered the room. For some reason, the shrieks of Genta were louder than when Kda had broken his arm. They are healing him, right? A thought which went through his teammates' minds. Chapter 379, Beyond Regret. While Naruto and Kda were having their picnic, Yami sat on the balcony of her house, her gaze distant as she watched the leaves sway in the gentle breeze. In front of everyone, she was trying to move on, but it was not easy to do so when there was a burden of not being able to do anything when your friend died for you. She was so spaced out in her thoughts that she had barely noticed when Karen walked up beside her, hesitating for a moment before taking a seat. You've been quiet lately. Karen finally spoke, her voice soft but laced with concern. Since they were both of nearly the same age, they had become acquainted soon after Karen moved next to their house. Yami let out a small sigh, tilting her head slightly but keeping her eyes on the horizon. Just thinking, she murmured. Karen fidgeted with the hem of her sleeve before mustering the courage to press further. About her Yoda? Yami stiffened at the name. She closed her eyes for a moment, as if bracing herself. Yeah, she admitted. It's just, I should have done more. I should have been stronger. Her fists clenched on her lap. He didn't have to die for me. If I had been even a little bit stronger, maybe. Stop, Karen interrupted, her voice firmer than before. Yami turned to look at her, slightly surprised. Karen was usually timid, but right now, her red eyes were resolute. You can't keep blaming yourself like this. He protected you because he cared about you. And if he were here, he wouldn't want to see you like this, drowning in guilt. Yami looked toward her for a few seconds before looking back towards the sky once again. I know, she admitted. But knowing doesn't change how I feel. I can't stand this. This weakness. I never want to feel this powerless again. Karen was silent for a moment, her own thoughts swirling. She had seen death up close, had nearly lost the only person she had left in this world. The memory of those days in the land of grass still haunted her, the fear of losing her family. Her mother. It was a nightmare she never wanted to live through again. Yami looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to get stronger. No one else is going to die for me. I won't let it happen. Karen took a deep breath, the words forming in her mind before she even realized she had decided. Then let's do it together. Yami blinked, caught off guard. What? I don't want to be weak either, Karen said, gripping the fabric over her heart. I already almost lost my mother once. Back in the land of grass. Her hands tightened into fists. I don't want to stand there helpless ever again. So let's grow stronger together, strong enough to never depend on anyone to save us, strong enough to save those who we love. Yami looked toward her for some time once again, a small smile coming on her face. It wasn't much, but it was the first genuine one she had in a while. You're stronger than you think, you know. Karen looked away, embarrassed. Not strong enough. She muttered. Then we'll change that. Yami said, the smile becoming a little more apparent on her face. Next day, Shizui was commanding his troops to maintain constant watch in the region, even though there was no movement from Hidden Cloud's village and Hidden Stone's village's side anymore. But they had already surprised Hidden Leaf village once, and the elders didn't want to take any more risks, so they asked the ninjas to remain at their posts to maintain the watch. They even sent more reinforcements. Shizui, who came to know about the attack later, asked for complete details, especially about his family. When he found out about the whole scenario, he wanted to rush back to the village to see his brother, but he didn't get permission for it. He could understand the reason, but that didn't mean his heart could. It took all his willpower to not ignore the Hokage's order and rush back to the village. Finally, after a week, he was given permission to come back to the village. So as soon as he transferred his command to other elite jonin, he rushed back to Hidden Leaf village at full speed. While he was coming back to the village, Kdo was preparing for a very important operation. All of the things were double-checked. The chief medical ninja had gone through the procedure multiple times, with Mitsuru taking all of the preparations regarding the operation theater and all medical equipment in hand. Finally, the time of the operation arrived. You are really not going to let me enjoy my rest, right? Itachi asked, sitting in the operation room with Kdo. Fugaku and Mitsuru were waiting outside. Well, if you want, I can come up with an excuse to postpone this operation by a few months later. Kdo said, giving Itachi his change of clothes for the operation. I can't waste the hard work of my subordinate, so I will graciously allow you to complete the operation today. Itachi said while changing clothes. It is not a problem at all, my lord. I will just inform uncle that you are not ready for the operation. Kdo said with a smile and was about to make his way toward the door when Itachi grabbed his shoulder. There is no need for that. I don't want any rest. Itachi said. Aren't you forgetting about adding something in your sentence? Kdo asked. Sorry tch, Itachi said. That's more like it. Kdo said, his smile increasing further. After Itachi changed into a hospital gown, he laid on the bed. How are you doing now? Itachi finally started the conversation, not knowing how he should begin. Fine, there is no use crying over the past. Kdo said and then started arranging the medical equipment. You are not just going to focus on medical jutsu now, right? Itachi asked, half joke, half serious. Nope. I have made a promise which will not let me do it. What promise? There will be only 3 great ninja villages in the future. Hidden Cloud's village and Hidden Stone's village will not be in the list anymore. Kdo turned towards Itachi, his eyes resolute and sharp. For a second, Itachi wanted to think it was a joke. He himself knew what a major village represented in their world, the epitome of power, the hegemony of the world, and Kdo was planning on removing 2 of them. It had to be a joke, but he couldn't shake off the feeling that it was not. Sigh. Since you have saved my life twice already, I already owe you. So if you need my help in the future regarding this promise of yours, don't shy away. I will help my subordinates to the best of my capabilities. Itachi said, joking at the end to remove the heavy atmosphere in the room. I hope you will not chicken out in the future. Kdo said. Not a chance. End of the discussion, boys. It's time to start the operation. Kdo, you will be in charge of the operation as planned, and we will be here to assist you. There is no room for any mistake. Are you ready? Mitsuru asked, wearing her gloves, followed by 2 other chief medical ninjas. Yes, sensei. Kdo said. Itachi was a little tensed seeing all this, but he calmed down. Till now, he at least knew Kdo enough that he wouldn't have even proposed this if he was not sure of success, so he left the worry and the operation started in earnest. Chapter 381, Playing with Fire. In the office of Hidden Leaf Village's leader, 2 of its most powerful ninja were sitting, both having S-rank strength capable of changing the direction of the war on their own. Shizui and Jiraiya were called to Hiruzen's office regarding an important matter, which was not disclosed to them till now in the slightest. Yesterday, they were informed that they would be going with the Fire Daimyo to the Land of Mist for a business deal. But suddenly they were informed of another mission they had to take and had to visit the Hokage's office, the second one which is not in the Hokage building, discreetly. Since Shikaku is here as well, I assume you guys are planning something again? Jiraiya asked. After Hiruzen, he was the strongest ninja in Hidden Leaf Village. Well, it was debatable who was stronger between Hiruzen and Jiraiya, but considering all of the experience and techniques Hiruzen knew, as well as all of the information he had about Jiraiya and his fighting style, there was quite a high chance that Hiruzen would win in a 1-to-1 fight. So Jiraiya, who could be considered the strongest ninja in Hidden Leaf Village, usually didn't care about formalities at all, especially since Hiruzen was his sensei and almost like his father. That's why he was questioning the meeting easily. Yes, Lord Jiraiya, as you know, we were going to return the favor to Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village. This is regarding that. Shikaku said. You're not actually sending me and him on that mission, right? Are we really going to go to war with Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village? Jiraiya asked, his demeanor becoming serious. Not you two, Lord Jiraiya, but someone with almost the same chakra signature as you guys, since you will be going with the fire daimyo to the Land of Mist. Shikaku said, barely holding back his smirk. We will be playing with fire if we do that. Shizue said, as the meaning behind Shikaku's words became clear in his mind. Yes, but that fire will not be able to burn us at all. What are they going to do, tell that the fire daimyo is lying? They brazenly declared their ninja as rogues when they were killed during the attack. If we agreed to that because we are not ready for a war, so will they. Because no matter how unprepared we are for a war, we can handle those two for now. With Hidden Sand Village being an ally and Hidden Mist Village in civil war, we will only have to focus on 2 villages, which is doable, and it is known by them as well, so they will not start a war either. Shikaku said. But won't it just lead to them attacking more of our outposts in retaliation? Shizue asked. Being away from the village, he didn't know about the meetings that took place here, while Jiraiya was present, so he knew about it from before, and also why these 2 brains of Hidden Leaf Village agreed to this plan. No, if that happens, we will be forced to start a war, even if we want to or not. We, as the strongest village and the one with most fertile land and resources, can't take these attacks lying down. Otherwise, we will become a target to exploit for other villages. Neither Hidden Clouds Village nor Hidden Stones Village is dumb enough to do that. Shikaku said with absolute confidence in his voice. So what do you think they will do when we destroy their outpost? It's not like they will just say, okay, our balance is settled, now let's move on, right? This time it was Jiraiya who asked the question. Out of all possible outcomes, I assume 2 to be most possible. First, they might not act immediately, but Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village have long memories. Instead of direct retaliation now, they might bide their time and strike when we least expect it. Or they might retaliate in a limited, controlled manner, perhaps sabotaging supply lines or ambushing our shinobi, but they won't escalate to full-scale war unless they're prepared for it. In both cases, there will be no war since we can't pin the blame on them, and we will have 2 time bombs on our back to always be on the lookout for. Shikaku said. Since you guys have already thought this through, there is nothing for us to care about anyway. Just tell us what we are going to do. Jiraiya said, his expression going back to a lazy one. Jiraiya-sama, you will be going to. Shikaku started the briefing of the plan in detail, with the capabilities of the ninja who were going to follow them on a mission, as well as what they were expected to do there. Both Jiraiya and Shizue had different roles, and both were more than qualified for it. If you have any doubts, you can ask now. Shikaku said at the end of the briefing. Only one, how much can I show? Jiraiya asked. All of your capabilities. That is the whole point of sending you on the mission. To show that it's not only them who are the shameless ones? Jiraiya asked in a mocking tone. For my village, I can be the most shameless person in the world. Hiruzen said without even an ounce of hesitation. So can we. Since everything is clear, I will take my leave. I have to complete my latest chapter of Kaka Paradise Season 4 before leaving. Jiraiya said, bowed to Hiruzen, and left the room. After this, Shizue could only smile awkwardly. You can also leave, Shizue. Since you have to go on 2 missions tomorrow, take some rest. Hiruzen said. Thank you, Lord Third. Shizue said, then bowed and left. After both of them left, Hiruzen turned to Shikaku. Others are prepared for this, right? Yes, Lord Third. They have been briefed about the mission. Since most of them are Anbu or Elite Jonin who have already worked with them, there is no need for any extra training at all. Also, since our attack force is not big, the route for smaller squads to reach there without being noticed has been easily planned. With this, all of the preparation is complete. Shikaku said. Good. I don't want any mishaps during this mission. Our top elite force is going on this mission. If anything happens to them, we will go back a year in our growth. Hiruzen said. Rest assured, Lord Third. The mishap you're talking about will only happen when both Raikage and Tsuchikage move to attack our forces, which is next to impossible. But I still gave signals to our spies to keep on the lookout for any movement of these two or their Jinchuriki. Hyuga nodded his head. It was not that he didn't know this, but the risk was just that high that he couldn't keep his worry in check. In one corner, this was happening, while in another part of Hidden Leaf Village, a celebration was going on. Fugaku had made 3 restaurants in the Uchiha compound free for a week straight, and all of Hidden Leaf Village was invited to eat. He was even planning on throwing a celebration party, which Itachi stopped after many requests. With 3 restaurants of the Uchiha compound, and that too with the highest rating, which could be considered 5-star on Earth, being free, the crowd of people that went to the Uchiha compound was no joke. In a sense, this big movement also helped Hidden Leaf Village to hide the preparation of the attack from spies in the village. Chapter 382, Big Brother Shizue returned from the Hokage's office and told his family about the mission he was going to take, about the daimyo's safety. But you just came back, and now you have to go on another mission. Are they going to work you till you are bones and skin? If it is so hard to be an Anbu, just quit it. He said, as Shizue had just come back yesterday and now had to go on another mission, and that too for 3 weeks. Mom, this mission is the easiest mission one could get. Protecting the caravan of Fire Daimyo with Jiraiya-sama and a ton of other elite ninja, there is no need for you to worry about anything. Shizue tried to calm his mother down, who was on the verge of going to the Hokage building to question Hiruzen himself. But unlike he, Kdo was more experienced in these missions, at least more than her, so he had a hunch that Hiruzen wouldn't have called Shizue back for a mission like protecting the Fire Daimyo when he had more than enough ninja for it, along with Jiraiya, who could easily handle such a mission alone as he had always done. There is something other than this mission. Considering how brother is not telling us anything, it must be something confidential, Kdo thought, but didn't say anything. He already had a guess which mission Shizue may have gotten, but he kept it to himself. Then tell Lord Third that you will not take any mission after this one for a month. I don't care how important it is. Even your father used to say how important it is to take a break in between missions, as they are more mentally taxing than physically. He said, her stance clear, either rest or she will have a talk with Hiruzen himself. As you wish, Mom. I will ask for a month's leave from Lord Third after this mission. Shizue said with a big smile on his face. She nodded her head, after which dinner was served. After a very long time, all 5 members of the family were dining together, so he had prepared a feast once again, which left all of them bloated. I will have a stroll to digest this. Will anyone join me? Shizue said, patting his bulging belly. I have to do the dishes. He said. Mom, I can. No need, I can do this. He cut off Shizue's suggestion, because every mother likes to do things for their children more than leisure time. The same was true for he. I will help, Aunt. Yami said, at which he nodded her head. I will come yawn. No, you are going to bed. He said. Then only we are left, brother. Kdo said with a small chuckle. Looks like it. Gua came a roar from the background. With your size, you will give those innocent people a scare of their life. I will take you to the jungle tomorrow. Kdo said. Gua, almost a childlike roar came, and after this much time, the family was able to understand the meaning behind some of its roars, like this time. Yeah, I promise. So, you are going on a single S-rank mission? Kdo asked Shizue. They had chosen a rather remote alley as the village was still very active this hour, especially the Uchiha compound, the safest location in the village. The shops rarely close in this clan, one can see some movement at all hours. But it made peaceful night walks impossible, so they chose the area near the training area and border of the village. As you can guess, no. But I can't tell you where I am going. Shizue said. There is no need, brother. I already have a guess about that. Best of luck and be safe. It will not be easy. Kdo said, looking toward him. It would be a complete lie to say that he was not worried at all. No, he was worried. He was worried about the mission Shizue was about to take. There was no way Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village had not prepared for the attack, considering Shizue was being sent on a mission where there were n number of possibilities that something may go wrong. Kdo wanted to stop Shizue from going on the mission, but he knew that it was actually the peaceful time compared to what would happen in the future. Haha, are you actually worrying about me? Don't you know who your brother is? Shizue left and ruffled Kdo's hair. I know, but I am worried. Even a 10-year-old is now more stronger than you. Now I doubt whether your reputation is authentic or not. Kdo said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Just because you got Mangekyō, you think you are now stronger than me, huh? Well, now I have to earn back my pride as the big brother. Why don't we have a spar? Shizue asked. I don't want to injure you before your mission, brother. I am still new to this and may not be able to control myself. Kdo said with a smirk. Well, you are a doctor. I am sure you will be able to heal me just fine. Shizue said, a vein bulging on his forehead. What happened to you, duh? I thought you guys just went for a walk. Why does it look like you were hit by a carriage? He asked worriedly. I slipped. Da said, turning his head away. He then turned to Shizue for an explanation, only to find an annoying smirk on his face. How many times do I have to say it to Da? Don't become careless. Now go and take some rest, and tell your big brother if you have any problem, okay? Shizue asked. Yes, brother TCH. Da clicked his tongue and went into his room, but there was a smile on his face. In the spar, he had tried his very best to fight Shizue, used every trick possible aside from his Mangekyō ability, and he still lost to Shizue. If it had to be compared, both of them had a gun, but Shizue had more experience and better aim and dexterity, which gave him an edge. Even though Da lost the spar, and since his earlier provocations were a little too much, he had to pay the price. The end result, which was the end of his worries about Shizue's safety, was definitely worth it. So Da went to his room with a broken body but a calm mind and a smile on his face. Chapter 383, Preparations and New Faces. The morning sun cast a golden hue over Hidden Leaf Village as Shizue and Jiraiya made their way to the designated meeting place in the Hokage building. The basement of the building was a place where not even the elders of Hidden Leaf Village were allowed to visit without the Hokage's permission, and in that basement, 60 ninja were waiting for their commanders. The air was thick with anticipation, as all of them knew the gravity of the mission ahead. They were tasked with infiltrating and destroying key outposts of Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village. The success of this mission would not only avenge Hidden Leaf Village's losses but also send a clear message to the other villages: Hidden Leaf Village was not to be trifled with. Both Jiraiya and Shizue entered the basement at the same time, their eyes scanning the team present in front of them. The shinobi were a mix of Anbu operatives, elite jonin, and specialized ninja with unique skills. Each one had been handpicked for their expertise and strength, with special care taken to ensure not even a chance of any of them being a spy. After scanning the ninjas, they made their way in front of the formation, the ninja waiting for them to give orders. Aside from the anxiety, there was a sense of excitement in their eyes as well. Being led by someone like Jiraiya was not something that happened every day. His role in previous wars and the number of missions he had completed was legendary among Hidden Leaf Village ninja. Jiraiya, ever the experienced leader, stepped forward first. His booming voice echoed across the basement as he addressed his team. Alright, listen up. You all know why we're here. This isn't just another mission, it's a statement. We're going to show Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Stones Village that Hidden Leaf Village doesn't back down. But remember, this isn't about recklessness. We move as one, we strike as one, and we come back as one. Understood? Yes, sir. The team responded in unison, their voices filled with determination. Jiraiya's team was a well-rounded group, consisting of close combat specialists, long-range fighters, and infiltration experts. Since Jiraiya himself was a Fuinjutsu Grandmaster, there was no need for a dedicated sealing expert in his team. Instead, he had a few shinobi proficient in barrier techniques and trap setting to complement his own skills. Meanwhile, Shizue observed his team with a calm yet calculating gaze. His group was equally impressive, but with a slightly different focus. Among them was a Fuinjutsu Grandmaster, a rare and invaluable asset for any mission of this scale. Shizue had been briefed about the man's importance and knew that ensuring his safety would be a top priority. After the initial statement, Jiraiya and Shizue made way to their respective teams. Good morning, sir. I am Shizue Uchiha. I am tasked to lead this team for this mission. Please help me on this mission. Shizue introduced himself first and with great humility, because he knew the man in front of him was no joke. Even though he was the leader of the group, in a sense, this person was more important than even himself, which became increasingly clear when he introduced himself. The Fuinjutsu master stepped forward, introducing himself. My name is Renjiro Hyuga. I specialize in large-scale sealing techniques and barrier creation. Please use my expertise as you see fit. The aged ninja said. A Jonin-level ninja from the Hyuga clan, that in itself would make him a valuable asset for the village, but his other expertise makes him invaluable. A Hyuga Fuinjutsu Grandmaster is better than a normal one since he could see the changes in chakra easily and find hidden seals with more ease. With him being from the main family, his importance increased even further, making his security much more critical. This just shows how much importance Hidden Leaf Village is putting on this mission. Shizue nodded, acknowledging Renjiro's role. Your expertise will be crucial, Renjiro-san. Though no mission is more important than you, as your advice is invaluable for us youngsters, so please stay close to me during the mission. I will do my best to ensure your safety. Shizue said, giving the best respect to the person. Renjiro gave a small smile. I'll hold you to that, Shizue-san. The rest of Shizue's team included tracking specialists, medical ninja, and a few shinobi with unique KK Genkai. One of them, a young woman with sharp white eyes, stepped forward. I'm Ion Hyuga. I will take the duty of Renjiro-san's safety, she said. Even though it would have been Shizue's decision, her being from the branch family actually made it her duty to protect Renjiro. Having an elite Jonin level ninja as a guard for Renjiro was important, so Shizue agreed without any problem at all. As the teams finalized their introductions, Shizue and Jiraiya took a moment to discuss the mission details. They reviewed the routes their teams would take, the outposts they were targeting, and the contingency plans in case things went south. Remember, Jiraiya said, his tone serious, this isn't just about destroying their outposts. It's about sending a message. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we disappear before they even know what hit them. There should be no witness of you being there, I mean no one. Don't worry, Jiraiya-sama. I am quite confident in my speed, but I will still try my best to follow your advice. Shizue said with a smile. I know. The advice was for your teammates. Jiraiya said, looking toward the ninjas behind Shizue. With the plans finalized, the teams began their preparations. Even though they were experienced ninja, it was still better to have some practice for coordination before such a big attack. Shizue's group focused on coordinating their movements and practicing their formations with various secret signs discussed for different situations, while Jiraiya's team worked on perfecting their ambush tactics. Renjiro then told them the best way to destroy any seal, which jutsu would work best, whether to attack the seal or the area near it when different signals were given. As the sun began to set, Shizue gathered his team for a final briefing. We move out at dawn. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow, we move out to show the might of Hidden Leaf Village. The shinobi dispersed, each one mentally preparing for the challenges ahead. Shizue stayed behind, his thoughts lingering on the mission. He knew the risks, but he also knew the importance of what they were about to do. You will do fine, boy. Don't worry too much, Jiraiya said, patting Shizue's shoulder, having just completed the training of his team and sent them back for rest. I know, Jiraiya-sama. I was thinking about how many lives will be lost just because of some power play. Shizue said. Ha ha ha, you two really are brothers. Your brother also said the same things, you know. And I am glad Hidden Leaf Village has such ninjas who know that life, whether of friends or foes, is equally important. And that's why we are doing this mission.